Captain, it's right here. Gu Zhuyu let Yan Weimin and the others in. I have to head for the commune later, so I'd appreciate it if you could keep an eye on things for me, Captain. Yan Weimin nodded. Sure, go on. We'll get everything neat and proper for you. With that, he told the men to get their tools ready so they could start work as soon as the supplies arrived. Meanwhile, Gu Zhuyu gathered her belongings from her room and carried them over to Yulina's place. Thank you so much for this, Lena. Yulina shook her head. Don't mention it. This room is plenty big. Storing a few things is nothing. You don't need to be so polite with me. Oh right, Yulina went on. Ayu, since you're going to the commune to pick up your parcel, could you buy me some meat stuffed buns? I'm planning to get my room repaired too, and I intend to talk to the captain about it later. Gu Zhuyu said it was no trouble at all. She took the money and food coupons Yulina handed over, then called out in the courtyard to ask if anyone else needed anything from the commune. The other young educated people said they had nothing to buy and would not go along. After bidding Yan Weimin goodbye, Gu Zhuyu set off. When Gu Zhuyu reached the village entrance, the ox cart was already waiting. She climbed aboard and handed Lu Shuizhen 2 cigarettes. Grandpa Lu, sorry to have kept you waiting. These are for you. Well, filter-tip cigarettes. Lu Shuizhen took them, held them to his nose and sniffed, grinning broadly. This old man has never smoked this kind before. Girl, why do you even carry cigarettes with you? He carefully tucked the cigarettes into his pocket and gave the ox a light tap on its hindquarters. The cart began to move. Gu Zhuyu settled herself and smiled. My dad told me to bring these along. He said they might come in handy, and sure enough, here we are. I'll probably need the ox cart from you again later. Lu Shuizhen laughed. Driving the ox cart is my job. The production brigade gives me work points for it. No need to keep thanking me. You pay the brigade for rides anyway, so don't stand on ceremony. They chatted back and forth, and in less than an hour they reached the commune. The ox cart was far faster than walking. Instead of going straight for the post office to collect her parcel, Gu Zhuyu headed for the supply and marketing cooperative first. Her parcel was enormous after all. Old man Lu found a spot to park the cart. Gu Zhuyu walked up to the entrance of the cooperative and silently called for the system check-in. Check-in successful. Items have been placed in system storage space. At the sound of the system voice, Gu Zhuyu opened her storage space to look over the day's rewards. She was overjoyed to see everything was immediately useful. 10 gene of toilet paper, 1 kerosene lamp, 5 gene of lamp oil, 1 flashlight, 1 aluminium kettle, 1 iron cooking pot, 10 industrial coupons, and a 100 yuan banknote. Clearly the system worried she might run short of money. Every check-in gave her cash, at the very least a 100 yuan note. She stepped inside the cooperative. There were not many customers, and several shop assistants were chatting while eating sunflower seeds. Gu Zhuyu stood at the counter for a while, but they kept talking as if she were not there. She tapped lightly on the counter. Comrade, I'd like to buy some things. All right, a woman in her 30s sauntered over. No need to hammer away like that, as if the world is ending. She held her head high with a condescending air. What do you want? Gu Zhuyu chose not to take offense. Shop assistants in those days often acted like that. Secure in their state-assigned jobs, many looked down on ordinary people. After Gu Zhuyu listed what she wanted, the assistant finally gave her a proper look. You want that much? Do you actually have enough money and coupons? Don't make me fetch everything only for you to be unable to pay. Gu Zhuyu said nothing. She pulled a stack of cash and coupons from her bag and laid them on the counter. Seeing this, the assistant said no more and went to gather the goods. Gu Zhuyu's purchases piled up: candy, pastries, gloves, straw hats, and many other practical items. She had plenty of money and coupons, so she bought them to store in her system space for future use. When she finished paying, she realized she had spent nearly 100 yuan, plus quite a number of coupons. She tied up her purchases and carried them out to the doorway, then waved at Old Man Lu. Grandpa Lu, I'm done shopping. The ox cart trundled over and stopped beside the cooperative. Seeing her struggling with the load, Lu Shuizhen came to help lift everything onto the cart. Inside the cooperative, the shop assistants watched the cart drive away and started gossiping. Who do you suppose that girl is? She spends money so freely. Must be one of the newly arrived educated youth. Just look at all she bought, said the assistant who had served her. She doesn't look very robust. I wonder how her family could bear to send her down to the countryside. Who knows? Hey, did I tell you what happened next door to my house yesterday? Their conversation drifted onto other topics. The post office was not far away. Gu Zhuyu arrived quickly. When the staff heard she had come for her parcel, they were very helpful and offered to carry it out for her. They led her over to sign and, noticing her confused look, explained, "Your parcel takes up so much room. It arrived days ago and no one collected it. We're short on storage space here." Gu Zhiyu nodded in understanding. Her mother's parcel was indeed huge. She signed her name and, with the staff's help, got the big parcel onto the ox cart. She thanked the postal workers and glanced at Lu Shuizhen, who stared in shock. She felt a little embarrassed. My mother was worried about me, so she sent quite a few extra things. Quite a few. Lu Shuizhen was lost for words. She called all that quite a few? Grandpa Lu, let's go to the state-run restaurant. It's almost noon and I'm starving, Gu Zhiyu said hastily, changing the subject. Not wanting to embarrass her further, Lu Shuizhen said nothing more and drove toward the restaurant. It was not yet official lunchtime, so the dining hall was nearly empty, yet wonderful aromas drifted out from the kitchen. Reading the chalkboard listing the day's offerings, Gu Zhiyu's mouth watered. Sautéed meat strips in thick sauce. Braised mixed vegetables. Chicken stewed with mushrooms. She had been craving these dishes for ages. Gu Zhiyu placed her order, handed her food boxes to the waitress and asked for everything packed to go. She also bought more than a dozen steamed meat-stuffed buns, paid, and waited nearby. Soon the packed dishes were ready. Gu Zhiyu stowed the food boxes in her satchel, picked up the buns and headed back to the ox cart. Seated on the cart, she handed Lu Shuizhen 2 buns. "Grandpa Lu, have these to tide you over." Looking at the soft white steamed buns, Lu Shuizhen refused. "You keep them for yourself." Ignoring his refusal, Gu Zhiyu pressed the buns into his hands. "I have plenty more. These are specially for you. I'll be living in this village for years, and I will surely need your help again. 2 buns are nothing. Please take them." Moved by her sincerity, Lu Shuizhen accepted them, yet did not eat straight away. He pulled out a sheet of newspaper, carefully wrapped the buns, and put them away. "These are a rare treat. I want to take them home and share them with your Grandma Lu." "Oh ho," Gu Zhiyu teased gently. "You two make such a lovely old couple." Lu Shuigen's face turned slightly red. "You cheeky girl, don't talk nonsense." Then his expression grew serious. "You're still young, and you don't know how greedy some people can be. If word gets out, you might attract unwanted attention. You're far away from home down here in the countryside. You need to watch your back. Ours is mostly a good village, but there are still folks out to take petty advantages. You shouldn't be so generous all the time." Gu Zhiyu listened earnestly and nodded to show she understood. They chatted and laughed, and time passed quickly. They got back to the educated youth compound before 12 o'clock. Every household in the village was having lunch. When the ox cart pulled up at the gate, both new and veteran educated youth crowded around, exclaiming at the 3 huge parcels stacked on board. Li Lan circled the cart several times. "Goodness me, Comrade Gu, you've practically moved your whole house here." Everyone nodded in agreement. Gu Zhiyu gave a helpless smile. "It's not as bad as all that. These are mostly things my mother sent. Since my health is poor, she feared I would struggle settling into rural life, so she sent a lot of supplies. By the way, could everyone give me a hand carrying these in? I can barely lift them myself. Later, once I open the parcels, you can all try some meat jerky my mother made." Suibai spoke up. "Don't be so polite. We are all educated youth. This is the least we can do." Seeing Yu Jiu already starting to carry items, the others hurried to help. "Stand aside, Comrade Gu. We'll take these inside for you. Thank you all so much." Many hands made light work. Gu Zhiyu was not much physical help, doing well just not getting in the way. Between them, they cleared the cart in no time. Gu Zhiyu took out 1 yuan and handed it to Lu Shuizhen. "Grandpa Lu, this is the cart fare. Thank you for your trouble." Lu Shuizhen pocketed the money. "Off you go. I need to return the ox and get home for lunch." "Safe journey, Grandpa Lu." Watching him leave, Gu Zhiyu turned back into the compound. Everyone had already carried her belongings into her room. Only the cooking pot still needed fitting into the stove. Everything else was finished. Gu Zhiyu stared in surprise. Had they really finished that fast? Yulina saw her stunned look and explained. "Ayu, we all hoped our rooms would be ready sooner, so we talked to the captain. He brought extra men over. Your room was finished this morning. They'll work on mine this afternoon. In 2 or 3 days, all our rooms should be fixed up." Su Rong spoke next, her voice soft and gentle. "Comrade Gu, don't worry about payment. We have already discussed it with the captain. All of us will split the cost evenly." Gu Zhiyu replied, "I'm just surprised how quickly the work went, not worried about cost." "Oh right. Glancing at her belongings piled on the Kong bed, she rummaged inside one parcel. In reality, she took a packet of pork jerky out of her system storage, acquired from a previous check-in. She handed 2 pieces to each educated youth. Please try this. They held the richly colored, fragrant jerky, torn between giving it back and wanting to taste it. Comrade Gu, your mother is an amazing cook, Qin mumbled with his mouth full. This is delicious. Since Qin had already started eating, the rest stopped hesitating and took a bite. They were instantly blown away. It tasted wonderful. Qin kept talking. Comrade Gu, you can call on me for any chores. Payment can just be pieces of this jerky. Seeing Qin greedy, undignified look, Yi Jiu turned away, pretending not to know him. He was making a fool of himself. Looking at Qin and the hopeful expressions on the other young people's faces, Gu Zhuyu felt helpless. Yulina chimed in too. Yes, Ayu, count me in too. I'll help you as well. Seeing Yulina's eager eyes, Gu Zhuyu pressed her forehead. Lina, don't you start. Even if I wanted to pay everyone with jerky, I don't have nearly enough. The others looked a little disappointed. They would gladly work for jerky, yet they understood meat was hard to obtain. They told her they would help whenever she needed it. Gu Zhuyu said she would certainly ask for help if the need arose. The veteran educated youth took their leave. They needed to rest briefly before afternoon work. Su Rong left as well. Yi Jiu said, Qin and I will head back too. Take care, Comrade Gu. All right. The sight of Yi Jiu brought back how struck she had been by his appearance that morning, and she found it hard to meet his eyes. Yi Jiu noticed her wandering gaze and fought hard not to laugh. He suspected if he did, something awkward would happen. Qin was still not ready to give up. Comrade Gu, would you sell some of that jerky? I can pay you for it, really. Please sell me some. Yi Jiu grabbed him by the arm and dragged him away, whispering in his ear, Qin, have some self-respect. It's only some food. Is it really that big a deal? Gu Jiu ignored Qin's pleading gesture and continued talking with Yulina. Outside the room, Qin shook Yi Jiu's arm off and complained loudly. Brother Yi, it is not only some food. That's the best jerky I have ever tasted. Everything I've had before feels like nothing in comparison. Nothing? You're an idiot, Yi Jiu retorted inwardly, though privately he had to admit the jerky had been excellent. He warned Qin quietly, watch what you say around Comrade Gu from now on. Don't embarrass me. Qin gave him a knowing smirk. Brother Yi, why do you care if I embarrass myself? Afraid Comrade Gu will think poorly of you? You said you had no interest in her before. Changed your mind. Seeing his teasing grin, Yi Jiu refused to let him get the better of the conversation. Don't talk nonsense. Don't make jokes about a young woman's reputation. We came down to the countryside together. If you make a fool of yourself, it will reflect badly on me too. Yi Jiu wore a solemn look, as though Qin's thoughts were improper. Qin rolled his eyes. Sure, keep pretending. Even so, the wonderful taste of jerky lingered in his mind, and he kept thinking of ways to get more from Gu Zhuyu. Unaware that Qin was still thinking about her jerky, Gu Zhuyu was discussing with Yulina their trip to the village carpenter's house to choose furniture. Gu Zhuyu planned to buy a wardrobe, 2 wooden chests, a writing desk, a chair, a Kong table, a dining table, 2 stools, plus a Kang mat, a chopping board, and many other small necessities. It added up to quite a lot. Yet Gu Zhuyu had plenty of money. Besides cash from system check-ins, her mother Zhao Suying had given her 200 yuan before she left for the countryside. After all her spending, she still had 421 yuan and 68 jiao, along with a large collection of coupons. Yulina also had sufficient funds. Hearing Gu Zhuyu's list, she decided to order exactly the same set of furniture. Once they sorted out what they needed, Gu Zhuyu suddenly remembered she had not eaten lunch. She spotted the steamed buns on the king and handed Yulina her 5 buns. Lina, here are the buns you asked for. I completely forgot to give them to you earlier. Yulina took them and bit into one. Wow, they're still warm. She ate as she walked toward the door. Ayu, go eat too. I'm heading back now. All right. We'll go to the carpenter's together in a little while. Gu Zhuyu was pleased with Yulina's behavior. She had seen the packed dishes in Gu Zhuyu's satchel yet chose to leave instead of inviting herself to share the meal. Clearly, she was not one to take advantage of others, and it made getting along easy. Gu Zhuyu's stomach rumbled fiercely. She had not noticed how hungry she was until food crossed her mind. She felt burning emptiness inside. She opened the food boxes and set them on the king. Today's dishes were classic Northeast recipes, and she would eat steamed buns alongside them. She picked up her chopsticks, took a bite of braised mixed vegetables, then some sautéed meat strips, followed by a mouthful of chicken, and finished with a small bite of bun. It was absolutely delicious. The meal left Gu Zhiyu feeling thoroughly satisfied. Afterwards, she swallowed one health-boosting pill, covered the leftover food, and stored it safely. She took her brand new iron cooking pot out of system storage and retrieved the stove grate from her new purchases. She set them aside and rested for a while. Soon Captain Yen arrived with his workmen, calling as he entered the courtyard, "Is Comrade Gu back?" "I'm back," Gu Zhiyu answered from inside, walking toward the doorway just as Yen Weimin reached it. He spotted the large iron pot at once. "Comrade Gu, you managed to get a cooking pot. Those are incredibly hard to come by." "This pot? My mother sent it to me. She feared I would not be able to buy one here, so she arranged for it to be shipped over." Yen Weimin understood. His own family's pot was years old with cracks along the rim. He had traveled to the commune many times trying to buy a new one without luck. "Great to have a pot. All that's left is finishing your stove. We can fit this pot right in. I also need to settle the accounts and give you your change." Yen Weimin had the men install the pot while he calculated expenses for Gu Zhiyu. 420 red bricks, 11 yuan 70, 5 jiao. 2 stove pipes plus an elbow joint, 3 yuan 30 jiao. Iron stove door, 70 jiao. Lime, fine sand, and miscellaneous supplies, 1 yuan 70 jiao. We agreed labor would be 20 jiao per workday. The job only took the men half a day, so that works out to 10 jiao each. 6 men total, 60 jiao. None of us are being fed by you, and meal costs are split among you educated youth, so your share is 30 jiao. I see you already bought a stove grate, so we didn't use the brigades. Total comes to 18 yuan 35 jiao. He pulled money from his pocket. You gave me 30 yuan this morning. Here is your change, 11 yuan 65 jiao. Count it and make sure it is correct. Gu Zhiyu accepted the money without counting and put it straight in her pocket. Shielded by her parcels, she pulled a packet of cigarettes from her system storage and handed it to Yen Weimin. "Captain, please share these cigarettes with the other men. I have nothing fancy to offer as a newcomer, but thank you all for your hard work today." "Sure, I'll pass them around. You are a straightforward young woman. Come find me if you run into any trouble." Yen Weimin breathed in assent. Wow, flying horse cigarettes were expensive. Most people would never afford such cigarettes. He put them away and chatted briefly with Gu Zhiyu. By then the stove installation was complete. Yen Weimin took his workmen over to Yulina's room, told them to do careful work, and departed. He had brigade duties and could not stay overseeing repairs all day. Yulina moved her belongings over to Gu Zhiyu's room. Gu Zhiyu locked her door, and the two girls set off for the carpenter's house. The carpenter lived in the westernmost house of the second row in the village. The huge old elm tree Zhang Mei had spoken of stood plainly visible from far away. "Anyone home?" Yulina called out loudly from the doorway. "Someone's here." "Who are you looking for, sister?" A small head poked out from behind the gate. It was a little girl of about 3 years old, dressed in a floral print outfit with 2 little horn-shaped braids. She had fair, soft skin and looked utterly adorable. Gu Zhiyu squatted down and looked at the little girl. "We're looking for Carpenterly. Is he at home? You want my grandpa? I'll go get him." The child spun around and ran toward the house. "Grandpa, Grandpa, some people are here to see you. Come quick." "Nyonyo, slow down. Don't fall." Before the little girl could reach the gate, Carpenterly came out of the house. Seeing her stumbling along, he hurried over and lifted her into his arms. He turned toward Gu Zhiyu and Yulina standing at the entrance. "You've come to buy things, haven't you? Come on in." The two stepped through the gate. Under a shed in the courtyard lay piles of timber, with wood shavings scattered everywhere, though no finished furniture was in sight. Walking up to Carpenterly, Gu Zhiyu said, "Hello. We're the new educated youth. We've just finished setting up our house and want to buy some furniture. The other educated youth told us your work is excellent, so we came to take a look." Carpenterly laughed heartily. "You're a smooth-spoken young lady. But I'm not boasting. If you ask around for miles, no one makes better furniture than this old man." "Best craftsmanship," Nyonyo chimed in a childish voice from his arms. Carpenterly led Yulina and Gu Zhiyu to the storage shed where he kept finished pieces. He pushed open the door for them to enter. "Take a look. All my completed work is in here." Gu Zhiyu glanced around. The furniture was well made, with good timber and fine workmanship. Yulina gasped. You, come look at this wardrobe. It's carved, just as nice as the one sold at the department store in town." Gu Zhiyu followed her gaze. The wardrobe was indeed fine, with exquisitely carved patterns. Carpenterly looked pleased. My craftsmanship speaks for itself. Some folks don't care for the carvings, but it seems you two young ladies have good taste. What do you think? Interested. Seeing how well crafted it was and needing a wardrobe herself, Gu Zhiyu agreed. She then listed everything she wanted. Yulina said she would order the same set as Gu Zhiyu. Carpenterly knew a sizable order had come his way. He had heard 8 new educated youth had arrived, meaning plenty of work ahead. Most of what you want is ready-made, but the desks and chairs will need to be built fresh. And there is only one wardrobe finished. The second one will have to wait in line. Which of you gets it first? Give the wardrobe to AU. I can wait, Yulina spoke up before Gu Zhiyu could reply. She leaned close to Gu Zhiyu's ear and whispered, AU, you have more belongings. You take this wardrobe. My things fit in 2 big trunks. Gu Zhiyu nodded, resolving to bring Yulina some snacks later. Very well, if you've settled it. But the wardrobe can only be delivered this evening. My son will bring it over after he finishes work. Is that all right? Carpenterly said. The two thought it over and agreed. Their rooms still needed tidying, and the delivery men could set the furniture in place for them. Gu Zhiyu turned to Carpenterly. How much will all these items cost? Carpenterly did some mental arithmetic. All sales go toward the production brigade's income. The money will be handed over to the brigade office, and I'll write you a receipt. Gu Zhiyu and Yulina nodded. The wardrobe and other large pieces carry higher labor costs. Adding the smaller odds and ends, labor comes to 51 yuan and 80 fin, materials 39 yuan. Total, 90 yuan and 80 fin. 90 yuan and 80 fin? Gu Zhiyu was surprised. She had expected to spend well over 100. Yulina also thought the price was reasonable and both paid readily. Carpenterly took their money, wrote out the receipt, and promised prompt delivery. Just as Gu Zhiyu was about to leave, she remembered something. Grandpa Li, do you know where we can buy water vats? You need water vats? Our brigade has a pottery kiln. Go find the brigade secretary, and he'll take you to pick some out. Gu Zhiyu thanked him, then left for the brigade office with Yulina. On the way, Yulina said, AU, how do you think of everything? I would never have remembered half these things. You're so capable. Gu Zhiyu humbly replied, my mother told me about all this. You know I'm not in the best of health, so she worried a lot and kept reminding me. I just remembered what she said. Yulina saw the sense in that. If she felt inclined to look after Gu Zhiyu, how much more so her own mother. They selected their water vats, paid the secretary, and arranged for them to be sent to the educated youth compound. Then the pair headed back. Once home, Yulina watched the workers build the heated brick wall in her room out of curiosity. Gu Zhiyu returned to tidy her own quarters. The stove and heated wall were still damp, and she had no tools, so she sorted through her parcels. She left the large bundles untouched and arranged smaller items against the wall. Glancing at the windows, Gu Zhiyu slapped her forehead. She had forgotten to hang curtains the day before. Recalling the wire and nails Zhao Suying had given her, she fetched them out. She borrowed a hammer from next door and fastened wire across the window beside the king. When she moved to the outer room, she stared at the window there. She held her hand up to gauge the height. She could not reach the top, not by a long way. She could barely reach the window beside the king by standing on the king, but without a stool, no matter how she stretched, she could not reach the top of this outer room window. She considered borrowing a stool from the workmen next door, but they were using scaffolding that could not be moved, so she gave up. Since she had not sewn curtains, she took a long piece of cloth from her spatial storage and hung it over the wire as a makeshift curtain. Finished, she bolted the door and lay down on the kang to sleep. She had been worn out these past few days and had risen early that morning. Without her health-preserving pills, she would have collapsed long ago. She slept deeply, undisturbed by the noise from next door, until a knock roused her. Comrade Gu, educated youth, I'm Carpenterly's son. I've brought your furniture. A man's voice came from outside. Gu Zhiyu woke at once. Glanced at her watch, it was nearly 6 o'clock. Thank you for your trouble. She got down, opened the door, and stepped aside to let them carry the furniture inside. 2 men, clearly brothers from their similar features, hauled in the heavy solid wood pieces, sweating heavily by the time they finished. Gu Zhiyu pulled a handful of fruit candy from her pocket and held it out. I have nothing to offer at home. Please take these candies. Thank you for your hard work. The brothers accepted the candy, thanked her, and left with their handcart to fetch Yulina's furniture. Gu Zhiyu looked at the neatly placed furniture. At last, the room felt like a proper home. Just then, the brigade's secretary arrived with men delivering the water vats. Gujuyu told them to set the 2 vats against the north wall. They fit perfectly, leaving enough space to open cabinet doors. She congratulated herself on measuring so precisely. Afterwards, she went to find Xinjiang. She knocked on his door. "Comrade Qin, educated youth, are you home?" His door stayed shut. Instead, Xinjiang came out from Yijiyu's room next door. "Comrade Gu? What can I do for you?" Gu Zhiyu got straight to the point. "I noticed you collected a lot of firewood today. I'd like to trade you for some." Xinjiang's eyes lit up. "Will you trade with that dried meat you had today?" Gu Zhiyu nodded. "Yes." At once, Xinjiang fetched 2 bundles of firewood from the woodshed and carried them all the way into Gu Zhiyu's house. Setting them down, he spotted the 2 empty water vats. "Comrade Gu, let me fetch water for you." He made for the door, but Gu Zhiyu stopped him. "There's no need, Comrade Qin. The vats were just delivered and still need washing. We don't need water right now. It's fine. I'll wash them. Just give me a little more dried meat in return." Afraid she would refuse, he hurried outside. He had seen Gu Zhiyu still had plenty of dried meat at noon. He was determined to work for her to get more. Xinjiang set to work with great energy. Food was everything to him. In less than 20 minutes, he had scrubbed and filled both large vats. He took the oil, paper parcel holding roughly half a jean of dried meat that Gu Zhiyu handed him, grinning until his eyes crinkled. As he left, he kept glancing back, telling her to call on him whenever she needed help. He was strong and willing to work for food. Only when she agreed did he go. It was no wonder Xinjiang craved her food. His own cooking skills were poor, and his supplies from home were limited. Earning extra food through labor was a wonderful opportunity. Gu Zhiyu scrubbed her pot, lit a fire to boil water, and dried out the stove while warming the king. Standing on a stool, she fastened wire and hung her curtains. She had chosen thick black cloth that blocked out light well. She closed the door, lit a kerosene lamp, and took a bowl of hot plain noodles from her spatial storage. She was grateful to her system for the hot meal with no cooking required. After eating, she washed the bowl, added 2 more logs to the stove pit, and began tidying up. She fetched a basin of water and a cotton cloth to wipe down all her new furniture. Then she sorted everything into place. Clothes went into the wardrobe, bowls and chopsticks into the cupboard. 2 trunks sat on the king, one held various food supplies, the other winter clothing. On top of the second trunk were 2 cotton quilts, which she covered with a light blue cloth. She swept the king with a broom, laid down the king mat, and set the lokang table in position. Seasonings were poured into small jars and stored in the cupboard. Grain went on the lower shelves. Her thermos sat on the kitchen table. On the wash stand beside the stove were 2 enamel basins and 2 towels. Many other items she put away into her spatial storage. It was nearly 8 o'clock by the time she finished. Exhausted, she sat heavily down on the king. After resting a while, she went to the outer room. The fire in the stove pit had burned down to faint embers. She set the kerosene lamp on the table, checked the doors and windows, and drew the curtains. She mixed warm water in a basin to wash herself. As she washed, she thought she would mark off a corner of the vegetable garden later to build a bathing area and an outhouse. Living conditions were quite inconvenient. Dressed again, she carried the basin out the back door to pour away the dirty water. She prepared her bedding to turn in early. The king had been far too hard the night before, so today she laid 2 thick quilts over it. Patting the soft layers, she smiled in satisfaction. Before sleeping, she took one of her health-preserving pills. Thinking about work the next morning, she soon fell asleep. When she woke the next morning, the room was dark. She pulled the curtain slightly aside and checked her watch by the faint light, nearly 6:30. Work started at 7. She hurried to wash, mixed a cup of milk powder, and pulled out work, clothes made of sturdy labor, grade cloth. She made her bed and got dressed. The milk powder had cooled. She took a steamed bun from storage, ate quickly, and rushed outside. She met Yelena, also hurrying along, half a steamed bun still in her mouth. They locked their doors and walked together toward the threshing ground, where the brigade chief had said work assignments would be given out. Most villagers were already there. Groups chatted among themselves, and some village women glanced toward the educated youth crowd and gossiped. The 2 joined the other educated youth and greeted them. Gu Zhiyu scanned the crowd but saw no sign of Jiang Yu or Zhao Jianzhou. Lin Weiguo was present, however. The brigade chief and the work points recorder waited until most people had assembled and began handing out tasks. After assigning work to the villagers, they turned to the educated youth. The young men were sent to repair irrigation ditches in the rice paddies. The young women were to thin and weed the cornfields. They told the older, educated youth to guide the newcomers, then everyone collected their tools and left. At last it was Guzhiyu's turn. Yan Weimin said to her, "Since your health is poor, the brigade assigns you to cut pigweed. Go collect a back basket and sickle. 2 full baskets earn 1 work point. Even though you say your family sends you money and you don't care about points, you must gather at least 2 baskets each day. Do you hear?" Guzhiyu nodded and went to get her tools. Staring at the large back basket, she felt daunted. She went back to Yan Weimin. "Brigade Chief, can I turn in half-filled baskets at a time? I truly cannot carry a full one." Yan Weimin was taken aback. No one had ever asked such a thing. He looked at Guzhiyu's slight frame and agreed. "Very well. Go to the hillside north of the village. Just make sure you gather the required total amount." "Thank you, Uncle Chief." Guzhiyu slung the basket over her shoulder and set off for her first day of work. As she walked away from the threshing ground, she saw Jiangyu and Zhao Jianzhou rushing over. She was tempted to stay and watch how the stern-faced brigade chief would deal with them. But the thought of the 2 baskets of pigweed she still needed to gather made her think better of it. If she failed her task, she would be the one everyone watched. When Guzhiyu reached the north hillside, about a dozen children, mostly 7 or 8 years old, were already there cutting pigweed with sickles. Seeing her, they put down their tools and stared curiously. The oldest boy spoke up. "Sister, are you the new educated youth? Are you here to cut pigweed too?" Guzhiyu looked at the children. Though tanned, they brimmed with energy, and she envied them. She pulled candies from her pocket and gave one to each child. Seeing them hesitate, she said, "I'm the new educated youth. I'll be cutting pigweed with you from now on. But I don't know which plants are suitable for pigs. Please teach me. These candies are payment for your lessons." The children accepted the candy and crowded excitedly around her, talking over one another. "Ask me. I know lots of pigweed. Me, I've cut pigweed the longest. Everyone says I do it well." "Me too." "Me as well." Guzhiyu smiled helplessly as they nearly quarreled over who would teach her. Candy was truly common currency among children. All right. You can all teach me. Let's be friends, no fighting. Go back to your work. I'll watch and learn as you cut." At her words, the children scattered back to their sickles. Each hoped Guzhiyu would favor them, dreaming she might give them an extra candy. Guzhiyu watched what plants they cut, memorized them, and began working herself. After some time, she stood up to stretch her back and checked her basket. It was half full. She decided to take this half load to turn in. Just then, several children walked over with their full baskets. "Sister, we're going to hand in our pigweed. Wait for me, I'll go with you." Guzhiyu reached for her basket, but one of the children stopped her. "Sister, yours won't count. The recorder won't accept it like that." The oldest boy, Go Dan, took her basket. He pressed the grass down firmly inside, compressing what had looked half full into much less volume. "You have to pack it tight." Guzhiyu stared at the basket in silence. All that effort, yet barely any real progress. Seeing her dejected look, Go Dan felt sorry for her. He thought she was rather clumsy, but remembering the candy, he picked up his sickle and began cutting pigweed for her. Guzhiyu was surprised by how helpful the young boy was. She did not stop him, for he worked far faster than she could. "Go Dan, thank you. If you help me fill half a basket, I'll give you another candy, okay?" Go Dan shook his head. "You already gave me one. I'll fill this whole basket for you." Now Guzhiyu refused. "Truly, half is enough. I cannot carry a full one. Besides, I will probably need your help again later. I can't let you work for nothing. Cannot carry it?" Go Dan stared at her in astonishment, looking at her as if she were utterly feeble. Guzhiyu felt awkward under his gaze, but there was nothing she could do. Her body simply lacked strength. When the other children heard half a basket of pigweed could earn a candy, they eagerly offered to help Guzhiyu cut grass as well. Thinking she'd expended so much energy only to fill a small portion of the wicker basket, Guzhiyu readily agreed. "Then from now on, every time you kids fill half a basket of pigweed for me, I'll give you one piece of candy, all right?" The children cheered loudly and grabbed their sickles, ready to start cutting grass. Guzhiyu quickly stopped the overexcited group. "Gooden's basket is almost full. You can take turns for the next one, okay?" "Okay, sister." Just then, Gooden had gathered enough pigweed for half a basket. Sister, I'm done. Gu Zhiyu handed Gooden a piece of candy and reached to lift the wicker basket. Nope, she could not budge it. Gu Zhiyu squatted down, slipped her arms through the shoulder straps, steadied herself, and pushed herself to her feet in one effort. Her vision swam, her body swayed, before she regained her balance. Fine, she really was not cut out for hard labor. She was only suited for an easy life, she told herself. With the basket on her back, she followed the children in a noisy procession to turn in her work. With the children's help, Gu Zhiyu finished handing over 2 full baskets of pigweed in just one morning. After arranging to meet them again in the afternoon, she headed home for lunch. Technically 2 baskets were all she needed to finish her daily quota, yet 1 work point per day felt far too meager. A few pieces of candy were nothing to her, so she saw no reason to hold back. It was barely 11 o'clock when she got home. Even though she had not done all that much physical work herself, her body still felt worn out from the morning. She ate a quick lunch, swallowed a health-preserving pill, pulled out the alarm clock she had bought in advance, set the time, and went to sleep. At 1:45, Gu Zhiyu's eyes flew open. She swatted at the alarm clock. It sounded as if a construction crew were hammering away inside her head. Alarm clocks from this era were truly deafening. After her nap, she felt much better. She splashed cold water on her face and headed out to keep her afternoon appointment. When she reached the north slope, the children were already waiting for her. They greeted her excitedly. At home at noon, they had told their families about earning candy by gathering pigweed. Their parents had given permission, only telling them to bring the candy home. Even so, the children were thrilled to bring sweets back for their households and turned up full of energy that afternoon. Gu Zhiyu signed in at the north slope that afternoon and successfully turned in another 2 baskets of pigweed. Under the scorekeeper's speechless gaze, she headed home in high spirits. Watching Gu Zhiyu walk away, Zhao Jianlin, the scorekeeper, did not know what to say. By that afternoon, word had spread across the whole production brigade. A delicate young female, educated youth who could barely carry half a basket of pigweed had arrived. People nicknamed her Sister Gu, pretty yet frail, much like Lin Dayu. Unaware of her new nickname, Gu Zhiyu was still delighted over earning 2 work points. Even if she had known, she would not have cared. It was true her body lacked stamina, so she might as well take their words as a compliment on her good looks. Once back home, she lit the stove and heated water for a bath. After changing clothes, she took leftover dishes and steamed buns out of her spatial storage. Taking a bite, she once more felt grateful for her system. Still, the system was a product of technology. Mental thanks would suffice. Grand offerings were out of the question. Anti-superstition campaigns were underway after all. System, I'm really speechless. Gu Zhiyu thought how fragile her body was. The children had done nearly all the work today. She had only carried baskets back and forth, yet she felt utterly exhausted. She had originally planned to call on the production brigade leader to talk about building an outhouse and a bathing room. She decided to put it off until tomorrow. Summoning what strength she had left, she shut the doors and windows, drew the curtains, lit the kerosene lamp, finished washing up, and climbed under the quilt. She set her alarm for the next morning and went to bed early. She never heard Yulina knocking at her door. She slept soundly through the night without dreams. Gu Zhiyu was woken by her alarm the next morning. Well rested, she ate breakfast and got ready to head out in good spirits. As soon as she stepped outside, she saw Yulina waiting by her door. Once Gu Zhiyu locked up, Yulina linked arms with her and they walked off together. Seeing Gu Zhiyu looked well, Yulina spoke. Was that your alarm clock going off this morning? It's so loud, it nearly gave me a fright. Still, I'm thankful for it. I would have overslept otherwise. Without letting Gu Zhiyu reply, she went on. I came knocking last night because I wanted to chat with you, but no one answered, so I went back. I was worn out after my first day of farm work, Gu Zhiyu explained. I turned in really early and did not hear you knock. It's fine, it's fine. Yulina waved her hand. I just wanted to talk, nothing important. Listen, Jiang Yu got scolded again yesterday. Word is she cried terribly. Gu Zhiyu had expected something like that, yet she wanted to hear the details. Tell me what happened. Eager for an audience, Yulina launched into her story. Given a wooden clapper, she could easily have passed for a storyteller. Gu Zhiyu learned what had taken place. The production brigade leader had already been displeased when Jiang Yu and Zhao Jianzhou showed up late the previous day. Still, he assigned them work. Zhao Jianzhou set off readily, But Jiang Yu claimed poor health and said she could not manage heavy labor, demanding lighter duties. When he asked for official proof of illness, she could produce none and simply stood there weeping, acting as though she had been wronged. Had Zhao Jianzhou been there, he would surely have felt for her, yet that tactic did nothing to move the brigade leader. Jiang Yu received a thorough dressing down. Later, Yan Weimin took her out to the fields and publicly criticized her in front of everyone. She cried real tears yesterday, I saw it with my own eyes, Yulina summed up. She must be mortified. Just as Yulina had said, Jiang Yu arrived early at the threshing ground that day, her face mostly hidden behind a silk scarf. Yulina laughed at the sight and received a venomous glare from Jiang Yu in return. Yulina glared right back. What was Jiang Yu glaring for? She had laughed, so what? Beneath her scarf, Jiang Yu's expression darkened. Having already lost face the day before, she wanted to avoid further trouble. She wished everyone would pretend she did not exist. Drawing closer, Gu Jiu noticed the educated youths had loosely split into two groups. Jiang Yu and Zhao Jianzhou stood on one side, the rest stood on the other. Lin Wei Guo was not beside Jiang Yu, which came as a surprise. Among the larger group, Lin Wei Guo looked at Jiang Yu with evident sympathy, yet he said nothing. So the self-proclaimed saintly young man was all show. Gu Jiu paid them little mind. She had come here to live her own life and saw no point in obsessing over other people's business. So long as no one troubled her, she would stay out of others' affairs. But she noticed many people staring at her. She tugged Yulina's sleeve. Nah, lots of people keep looking at me. Do you know why? No idea, Yulina shook her head. I'll ask around while we work today. Gu Jiu thanked her and brought up her plan to ask the brigade leader about building an outhouse. Yulina readily agreed to go with her. Like Gu Jiu, she could no longer stand the communal outhouse at the educated youth compound. It was always crowded with long queues and filthy beyond belief. She wondered how others could bear it and why they had not built another. Gu Jiu could guess the reasons. Everyone was worn out after work and no one wanted to spend extra time cleaning latrines. Besides, no one knew how to build one, nor was anyone willing to spend resources on such a project. The two decided one shared outhouse would suffice, to be built between their two vegetable plots behind their houses. They agreed to visit the brigade leader's home together that evening. After that, Gu Jiu slung her wicker basket over her shoulder and set off to carry on with her candy for pigweed scheme. She made excellent progress that morning, gathering 3 full baskets of pigweed. She hoped she could finish work early in the afternoon. On her way home at noon, Gu Jiu took a detour to the village pottery kiln and completed her daily sign-in there. Back home, she saw firewood was running low, barely enough for one more meal. She set about washing rice. She planned to cook extra rice to store in her spatial storage. At present, she had plenty of stored dishes but no cooked rice, and she thought the dishes would feel lonely all by themselves. She put the washed rice into the pot, added a couple of logs to the stove fire, pulled over a small wooden stool, and sat beside the stove to check what rewards she had earned from signing in at the pottery kiln. Her eyes widened in shock. At the north slope the day before, she had received fruits, pheasants, and hares, which made enough sense for a hillside. But what was this today? From a rural pottery kiln, she had gained kiln-glazed ornamental pottery, a complete set of purple sand teaware, and even Tang Dynasty tricolor figurines. How on earth did these fit a village kiln? Well, they were all pottery-related, after all. Gu Jiu thought it was nice that the system could expand its reward pool. All the benefits went straight to her. While waiting for the rice to cook, she pulled a book out of her spatial storage. She had visited a bookstore to sign in before leaving for the countryside. And now several stacks of books filled her storage space, including 30-odd novels. They would serve perfectly to pass the time out in the country. As for more practical study books, Gu Jiu chose not to think about them. The rice turned out perfectly cooked. She tasted a spoonful. The texture was just right. She set aside a small bowl for herself, poured the rest into a basin, and stored it in her space. The crispy rice crust at the bottom of the pot was delicious, yet she could not eat too much of it. She kept some to take over to Yulina and stored the rest in her space as well. She cleaned the pot, poured in several ladles of water, covered the lid, and headed out with the rice crust for Yulina. When Gu Jiu arrived, Yulina was simmering congee with bits of salted pork. Good heavens, you are so kind to think of bringing me food. Seeing the rice crust, Yulina was moved almost to tears. I finished my steamed buns yesterday and I can only make congee. I've eaten nothing but congee for 2 days running. Hearing that, Gu Jiu thought she did have it rough. Why don't you come over to my place tonight? I'll teach you how to cook, and then you can make meals for yourself. No sooner had Gu Jiu finished speaking than Yulina threw her arms around her, eyes glistening. Hey you're my lifesaver. Whatever chores you have, just ask me, and I will get them done. Gu Jiu smiled and said she would keep that in mind before returning home to eat her lunch. After eating, she did not take a nap. Thinking about her promise to teach Yulina cooking that evening, she grew worried. She had no visible fresh vegetables on hand. She decided to fetch Yulina right away. They would go to the brigade leader's house to trade for vegetables and talk over building the outhouse at the same time. Yulina locked her door and went along with Gu Jiu. When they arrived, the family had just finished lunch and were resting on the heated Kong. Hearing movement in the yard, Wang Yalan hurried out to see who it was. Seeing Gu Jiu and Yulina, she ushered them inside. Comrade Yu, why are you here in the middle of the day? Aren't you resting at home? Come in and sit. She brought over a long wooden bench for them and turned to fetch water. Auntie, please don't trouble yourself, Gu Jiu stopped her. We came to ask a favor of you and Uncle Yan. Wang Yalan sat on the edge of the Kang and smiled. You two girls are too polite. You came all the way out here to live in the countryside. Treat this as your own home. Speak up if you need something. Neighbors ought to help one another. No need to talk about favors. Yan Weimin nodded in agreement. Your aunt is right. Now tell us, what is it you need? We hope to build an outhouse behind our houses, Gu Jiu said. Also, we wondered if we could trade for some vegetables and eggs. Our vegetable plots have not been planted yet, and we would also like to get some seeds. Yulina nodded beside her. She admired how thoughtful Gu Jiu was. She herself had never even thought about tending vegetable plots, let alone trading for seeds. Wang Yalan slapped her thigh. Oh my, I thought it was something huge. It is hardly any trouble. You can pick vegetables from our garden. We only have 10 eggs to spare, though. If you need more, I can ask around the village this afternoon. Yan Weimin picked up the conversation. Work on your single-room quarters is not quite finished yet. Comrade Yi requested leave to go to the county town to buy walks and has not returned. We can send those laborers over to build your outhouse this afternoon. What materials would you like to use? I will have them bring everything over. Gu Jiu thought ahead. The outhouse would be used for many years. Uncle, do we have enough red bricks? I would like to build it with red brick. Yan Weimin considered. We have enough bricks for a small outhouse. Yulina had no objections, so Gu Jiu settled the matter. Red bricks it is then. With that decided, Wang Yalan led the two girls to the vegetable garden. The garden plot was not large, yet it grew lush and abundant produce, with many young vegetables sprouting up. Carrying a wicker basket, Wang Yalan pulled handfuls of green onions and picked fresh young greens. She did not take too much, warning them fresh vegetables spoiled quickly and telling them to come back for more once these were eaten up. Wait here a moment. I will fetch a pickled Chinese cabbage and bring over your eggs. Wang Yalan bustled off and soon returned carrying the basket. Gu Jiu handed her 1 yuan for the eggs and vegetables, but Wang Yalan refused. Eggs trade at 5 fin apiece, so 10 eggs would be 50 fin. The vegetables are worth barely 5 fin. You do not need to give me a whole yuan. Auntie, our garden has not been planted yet, so we will be coming to you often, Gu Jiu explained. Please take the money. Persuaded, Wang Yalan accepted it. Very well. Come pick vegetables whenever you need them. Uncle Yan and I cannot eat all of what we grow anyway. Gu Jiu thanked her. Yulina carried the basket as they headed home. Here, Ayu, this is my share of the payment. Yulina pulled out 50 fin on the walk back. I heard the brigade leader has 2 sons. The eldest is married and lives in the county seat. The younger serves in the army. Neither lives at home, so it is just the 2 of them in the village. Amused by how much Yulina knew, Gu Jiu said, You certainly hear everything. Yulina tilted her chin up proudly. That is right. I have always had sharp ears. Neighbors can hardly keep secrets from me. Sometimes even my mother comes to me for gossip. I will tell you all the interesting things I hear. Wow, she had a walking village rumor monger right beside her. It is a deal then. I will count on you to keep me entertained, Gu Jiu laughed. Yulina thumped her chest solemnly and promised she would deliver. Seeing her earnest look, Gu Jiu laughed aloud, and Yulina laughed along with her. Chatting merrily, they returned home. They set the vegetables down in Gu Jiu's room. Work time was drawing near, so Yulina did not go back to her own place. She rested for a while in Gu Jiu's room. She told Gu Jiu she wanted to fix up her own room to look like this. Gu Zhiyu's room felt like a real home, while her own still felt like a cold hostel room that she had never bothered to arrange. Gu Zhiyu felt glad to have Yelena around. She livened things up. Who would not like such a bright-natured, straightforward girl? Jiang Yu, presumably. Gu Zhiyu had noticed Yelena could strike up conversations with nearly everyone, and others always spoke to her patiently. That was a real talent, one not everyone possessed. That afternoon, Gu Zhiyu turned in one basket of pigweed and headed home. She wanted to oversee the outhouse construction. She had given up on building a bathing room. It would be useless in cold winter weather. When she got back, Yi Zhiyu had returned with the walks. The workmen had arrived. Only Yelena's and Su Rong's walks still needed installing, and the laborers were carrying bricks toward the rear of the houses. Watching Yi Zhiyu in the yard, Gu Zhiyu wondered about his background. Iron walks were notoriously hard to acquire, yet he had somehow managed to get 4 of them at once. Yi Zhiyu sensed someone staring at him and met Gu Zhiyu's gaze. He could not understand why Comrade Gu always zoned out looking at him. Could it be that his appearance inspired so much deep thought? Comrade Gu, you were back rather early. Had she just stood there lost in thought watching him? Oh no, she had zoned out staring at him again. Gu Zhiyu mentally chided herself, though she dared not slap herself for real. She hated pain. She quickly answered him. I talked to the brigade leader about building an outhouse out back. An outhouse? Yes, an outhouse. Gu Zhiyu's face twisted with disgust just thinking about the communal latrine at the educated youth compound. Yi Zhiyu had not expected that. Recalling the dreadful state of that shared outhouse and his own unpleasant experiences using it these past few days, he suddenly saw the merit in her idea. Imagining how miserable it would be in winter, he stiffened slightly. Build it. That outhouse absolutely had to be built. Very well then, Comrade Gu. I will be off, Yi Zhiyu said and hurried out the gate. Gu Zhiyu stared after him in confusion. Had he not taken the day off? Little did she know he had been spooked by visions of the outhouse in freezing winter. Back inside, she brewed a thermos of sugar water and washed 2 bowls, then picked up the thermos and stepped out her back door. When the workmen saw her, they greeted her. Little Comrade Gu, we will finish hauling the last load of bricks soon. Show us where you want it built, and we can get started. No hurry at all. Please stop and drink some water to rest, Gu Zhiyu said, handing over the thermos and bowls. One of the men took the thermos and thanked her, pouring bowls of water for everyone. Gu Zhiyu spoke again. I have not properly introduced myself these past 2 days. May I ask your name? I also want to thank you for lending me a hammer the other day. The man waved his hand. No need for thanks. You are like one of our own children now that you live in the village. My name is Li Danio, you can call me Uncle Danio, and these fellows here. Just as Li Danio was about to introduce someone to Gu Zhiyu, a cry rang out, Danio, what Comrade Gu poured for us is sugar water, it's so sweet. What? Sugar water? Li Danio stared at Gu Zhiyu in surprise. Comrade Gu, this is such a waste. Plain cold water would have been fine for us. Please take this back and drink it yourself. He reached out to return the thermos flask to Gu Zhiyu. The 2 men holding bowls looked awkward. They had already taken a sip, so how could they give it back? Gu Zhiyu did not take it. This is specially for you all. Go ahead and drink it. I actually have a favor to ask of Uncle. Really? Absolutely. Gu Zhiyu nodded. Reassured, the 2 men sipped slowly as if they were savoring some rare delicacy. Several others who had not gotten any kept urging them to hurry up, so they quickened their pace. Li Dania swallowed hard. He wanted some sugar water too. Yu Tian had said it was incredibly sweet. It was all right, there would be some left, and he would get his turn soon. Li Dania turned to Gu Zhiyu. Comrade Gu, you said you need a favor. What is it? Uncle Danio, I was wondering if I could trade for some firewood. My health is poor, and I cannot go out to gather wood myself. Sure thing. Li Dania let out a sigh of relief. He had feared it was some huge problem, and she had even treated them to sugar water. Other educated youth also trade for firewood in the village. How much do you need, Comrade Gu? I would like enough to last me a whole year. A whole year. Li Dania's eyes went wide. Comrade Gu, that won't work. We stockpile firewood only in autumn. Even if the production brigade allowed one household to hoard that much wood, we simply don't have it right now. You misunderstand me, Uncle Danio. Seeing he was about to refuse, Gu Zhiyu hurried to explain. I don't need it all delivered today. Even if you brought it over, I would have nowhere to store it. Li Dania relaxed. Then what exactly do you have in mind? Gu Zhiyu laid out her plan. I was thinking you could deliver firewood to me at regular intervals, so I never run short. Then when autumn comes, help me stock up enough for the whole winter. I can pay you in cash or other goods. Lidania thought it over and found the idea acceptable. Comrade Gu, wait a moment. We need to talk this over among ourselves. The other men had heard every word. Before Lidania could consult them, they readily agreed. We ought to settle a few things first. How much firewood can you bring each trip? Let us fix the price and confirm who will take turns making deliveries. That way we can avoid misunderstandings later. That made good sense. After a brief discussion among the group, Lidania spoke for them. Comrade Gu, other educated youth have traded for firewood before, but only in small amounts. There was never any fixed price. Gu Jiu nodded and let him go on. We have talked it over. Every 2 weeks we will bring you a cartload of wood, roughly more than 400 jin. You pay 1 yuan per cart. The 6 of us will take turns making deliveries, and I will go first. Lidania pointed to the rest of the men and introduced them. These are Zhao Yutian, Li Jia, Wang Chonggui, Guo Mantin, and Yan Shui. We will follow this order for deliveries. Comrade Gu, when should we start? Uncle Danio, could you bring some today? I barely have 2 pieces of wood left for tonight's fire. Gu Jiu said. Lidania readily agreed. Show me where you want the outhouse built. Once we finish the work, I will bring the firewood over. Thank you so much, Uncle Danio. Not wanting to disturb their work further, Gu Jiu went back to her room. She planned to alter her curtains while she had time. Now that Gu Jiu lacked neither money nor supplies and had ways to improve her poor health, she began to pay more attention to the quality of daily life. She took down the curtains, sat on the kang, and started sewing while activating her daily system check-in. Glancing over the rewards from check-in, Gu Jiu quickly set aside the cloth she had only stitched a couple of times. Once again, she was certain she had come to this world to live comfortably. Today's rewards were all curtain and door curtain supplies, complete with fitting tools and plastic sheeting for sealing windows against winter cold. What could she do? The system doted on her, and she could hardly turn down such gifts. The curtain rods provided by the system resembled modern ones, made of reinforced steel and wood. She took everything out of her storage space. Not being very strong, it took her quite a while to hang all the curtains. She made them double-layered, an outer layer of pure cotton gauze that let soft light filter through, and an inner layer of dark indigo homespun cloth for full light blocking. Just then, Carpenter Lee's son arrived with the desk and chair she had ordered. After carrying the furniture inside, Li Ernia pointed at the remaining items on his cart and said to Gu Jiu, Comrade Gu, these belong to Comrade Yu. I will leave them in the yard. Please keep an eye on them for me. I have another load to deliver, and I will carry her things into her room when I come back. Very well, leave them there. I will watch over them. Gu Jiu agreed. All right, I am off then. Li Ernia left once he had unloaded the cart. Back inside, Gu Jiu wiped down the desk and chair with a rag. She fetched a light blue checked cloth from her storage space, cut it to size and spread it over the desk. Then she placed several books on top, giving the room the look of a young intellectual's dwelling. By the time she finished, it was already late. Sitting in the chair to rest, she realized she had only accomplished 2 tasks all afternoon. She took 1 health-nourishing pill, rested a while longer, then headed to the kitchen to prepare ingredients for supper. Gu Jiu took out a 1-jin piece of cured bacon, sliced it, set it on a plate, and put it in the cupboard to steam along with the rice. She had just started chopping vegetables when someone knocked at the back door. She set down her knife and opened it. Lidania had come to tell her that the outhouse was finished, and he was heading back to fetch her firewood. They had worked efficiently. Peering through the gap, Gu Jiu saw not only the completed outhouse, but the whole site tidied up. Only Lidania remained. She wanted to pay him for building the outhouse, but he refused to take the money. The production brigade chief said the job would be finished today. He will drop by later. You can settle the payment with him. Understood. I will give the money directly to the brigade chief. Gu Jiu asked, Are you going for the firewood right now, Uncle Danio? Lidania nodded. The sooner I deliver it, the sooner I can get home and rest. Thank you very much, Uncle Danio. Gu Jiu returned to chopping vegetables, while Lidania went home for the firewood. Back home, Lidania pulled over his wooden cart and began loading firewood onto it. His wife stepped forward and blocked him. Where are you hauling all that wood off to? You walk in the door and immediately start moving wood without even stopping to rest. Lidania slapped his forehead. He had forgotten something important. He drew his wife aside and explained. Comrade Gu wants to trade for firewood. 1 yuan for each cartload. Yution and the others have agreed to take turns delivering it, and I am first in line. I have to bring it over soon. Zhao Guolian, let him get back to work. Then she grabbed him by the ear. Are you out of your mind? You could earn a whole yuan just for some physical labor. Why bring other men in on this deal? Have you lost your wits? Ouch, Guolian, let go. Li Dania winced and caught her wrist to stop her squeezing, yet dared not yank her hand away. Listen to what I have to say, let go first. Zhao Guolian loosened her grip. I am listening. What excuse can you possibly have? 1 yuan for a cart of firewood, goodness me, it pains me just thinking about it. Afraid his wife would fly into a temper, Li Dania did not even rub his sore ear. Comrade Gu brought this up in front of everyone. What choice did I have? Besides, she needs firewood for an entire year. I would wear myself out trying to do it all alone. If several of us share the work, we can all earn some extra income. Zhao Guolian had to admit he made sense. She did not want her husband working himself to death for money. I will help you carry. She reached out to lend a hand. Li Dania stopped her. It is far too heavy for you. I can manage on my own. Go and get dinner ready. I am quite hungry, and I want a hot meal when I get back from delivering the wood. Very well, I will cook. Zhao Guolian turned toward the kitchen. She had finished her field work early precisely to prepare supper, and had nearly forgotten amid the commotion. This was how household life went in those days. Women often finished farm duties ahead of the men to cook for the family. If Li Dania had not been working at the educated youth compound these days, he would still be out in the fields. The firewood was unloaded into the woodshed on the side of the female educated youth quarters. Gu Jiu could carry small amounts over whenever she needed it. She had originally planned to store the wood behind her vegetable plot, but Su Rong and Ming Tian had already planted their crops there. Moving bricks had been troublesome enough, and firewood deliveries would happen every 2 weeks. It was better not to keep shifting things around. The woodshed was a little farther away, but Gu Jiu told herself walking over counted as light exercise. After stacking the firewood, Li Dania saw the educated youth returning from work. He mixed some mud and reinstalled the cooking pots for Su Rong and Yulina. Seeing her pot set up again, Su Rong felt a great weight lift off her shoulders. Eating with others these past few days had stressed her out. She had never shared meals with outsiders before coming to the countryside. If the neighborhood office had not assigned her, she would never have left the city. Ming Tian was warm-hearted and her cooking was good, yet Su Rong still felt ill at ease. She blamed Su Wei for her misfortune. Thinking of the person who had caused her to be sent down to the countryside, Su Rong gritted her teeth. She had already secured a city job before being schemed against. She thought Su Wei was vicious and also blamed herself for being naive. The old saying, keep good company and stay away from treacherous people, rang perfectly true to her. Still, a faint smile crossed her face when she thought of Su Wei exiled to the far northwest. It was fine, she had already reported her. Back with Gu Jiu, the bacon-flavored rice was done steaming. Yulina took a bite and was filled with pride. Hey, you, look how well I did. My very first attempt at steamed rice turns out delicious. Gu Jiu held back from pointing out that steaming rice only required adding water and tending the fire, hardly a great culinary skill. Don't get complacent, Nana. Let us cook our side dishes now. At the mention of stewed vegetables, Yulina quickly hurried over. Hey, you, how do I cook pickled mustard greens? She asked. Gu Jiu rinsed the pickled greens one more time. My mother sent me some fine vermicelli noodles. We will stew them together with lard, it tastes wonderful. Then we can make scrambled eggs with green onions for our other dish, and supper will be ready. She added a log to the stove and handed Yulina the spatula. Want to give it a go? Sure I do. Yulina took the tool. Hey, you, what next? Scoop out some lard from the jar on the table. Yulina carefully scraped out a tiny dollop of lard and dropped it into the pot. Gu Jiu looked at the minuscule amount, no bigger than a fingernail, and sighed. That would hardly flavor anything. Nana, take more. Plenty of lard makes the dish taste good. Yulina steeled herself and added a generous chunk of lard to the pot. I never knew you had lard with you, eh, you? Gu Jiu watched the fat melt in the heat. My mother packed it for me. It was sealed tight and wrapped in many layers. Toss in the ginger, stir, fry briefly, then add the pickled greens. Got it. Yulina kept her hands busy as she chatted. Honestly, your mother spoils you rotten with all these supplies. My mother treats me well too, though. Jiang Yu set me up, so I left for the countryside in a rush without time to gather my belongings, but mother gave me plenty of money. Her parcel should arrive soon. I am sure it is stuffed with tasty treats. We can share everything once it gets here. All right. Nana, add water now or it will burn. Gu Jiu warned. Yulina panicked and poured water into the pot. My vegetables. That is enough. Any more and it becomes plain soup. Gu Jiu stopped her. Put in the vermicelli, I already rinsed them. Yulina dropped the noodles in and closed the lid with a sigh of relief. That was a close call. It truly had been. They might have ended up eating only bacon-flavored rice. The thin vermicelli cooked quickly. Next, Yulina made the green, onion scrambled eggs. The dish turned out slightly charred in one small spot, though Yulina swore it was barely noticeable. Gu Jiu just smiled and said nothing. If she claimed it was only a little burnt, then so be it. Yulina would be eating it anyway. After supper, Yulina intended to heat water and warm her Kong. Gu Jiu handed her a bowl of bacon-flavored rice for breakfast the next morning. Yulina was so moved her eyes grew moist, full of gratitude. The two joked around for a while before Yulina headed back to her own room. Gu Jiu washed up and climbed onto her Kang. She moved the Lokang table beside her quilt and set a fruit platter, kerosene lamp and her novel upon it, then sat cross-legged on the bedding. Soon she grew uncomfortable sitting that way, so she stretched her legs out instead. She glanced at her wristwatch, 7:25. Her plan was simple: read for half an hour, use the outhouse, take her medicine, and go to bed. Perfect. Following her schedule, she fell asleep right at 8 o'clock and slept soundly. The next morning, Gu Jiu woke promptly to her alarm. Her rich breakfast included powdered milk, half an apple, a tea, marinated egg, and a steamed bun. Then she grabbed her farm tools to cut pigweed. She finished her 2 work points by early afternoon and headed home to tend her small vegetable plot. She also spent time teaching Yulina basic cooking skills, and her days were full and rewarding. Several weeks slipped by, and Gu Jiu grew more accustomed to rural life. Some villagers gossiped about her light workload at the collective fields, but the brigade chief and party branch secretary scolded those who complained. Everyone could see Gu Jiu's poor health. If others wanted easier assignments, they were welcome to fall ill just like her. They also warned that light duties meant fewer work points, and no one should come complaining if they could not earn enough grain. After that, many villagers called her Sister Gu. Apart from Yulina, the village children, and the party branch secretary's wife, Gu Jiu rarely interacted with other villagers. She merely exchanged greetings with most of the other educated youth. Jiang Yu was the sole exception. Gu Jiu completely ignored her. Even though Jiang Yu had not caused her trouble lately, Gu Jiu simply chose not to like her. The secretary's wife and Yulina pitted her fragile health, and parents told their children not to repeat village gossip in front of her. Time passed. Her vegetable plot was nearly fully cultivated, and the long-awaited day finally arrived. 30 whole days had passed since she arrived in this world. Time for her monthly check-in. She was eager for the grand reward package. The 13th day of the 6th lunar month dawned bright and clear. Gu Jiu had looked forward to this moment for ages. Thanks to half a month of physical labor and the health-nourishing pills, she could now carry most of a basket of pigweed, nearly matching what the local boy Gooden could manage. She pushed herself and completed her 2 work points all in the morning. Yulina now cooked for herself. Seedlings had sprouted all over Gu Jiu's small garden. Gu Jiu thought about these past weeks of hard work, yet puzzled over why she had put on weight. Her clothes felt tighter. Without the system replenishing her wardrobe, she worried she would soon have nothing suitable to wear. When work ended at noon, she skipped cooking a full meal and ate ready to eat food from her storage space. She washed her hands thoroughly with soap, sat on the Kang, and wore a solemn expression as she prepared for check-in. System, begin check-in. Readers may wonder why she washed her hands rather than her teeth for this simple verbal command, but let us pass over that minor detail. System, does not understand, keeps silent, and is greatly astonished. Ding. Check-in successful. Items transferred to system storage space. Ding. Congratulations, host, for completing 30-day consecutive check-in. Monthly grand reward package added to system storage space. Double rewards. Gu Jiu felt elated. She imagined she could run back and forth carrying pigweed baskets without gasping for breath. Truly, the system treated her well. She had expected the monthly reward merely to offer better quality goods in larger quantities, yet she received 2 sets of rewards altogether. Her thoughts wandered to how extraordinary the annual check-in reward must be, and she looked forward to it greatly. She mentally praised the system, hoping to win even more favor. Full of anticipation, she opened her storage space. Her hand-washing ritual had definitely been worthwhile. The ordinary daily check-in gave her money, various food coupons, fresh fruits, and meat. But the monthly Grand Reward package was truly extraordinary. Monthly Grand Reward package, 100 yuan cash, 80 Jean National Grain coupons, 20 Jean Oil coupons, 10 Jean Sugar coupons, 20 Jean Pastry coupons, 20 Jean Peanut, Sunflower, Seed coupons, 60 Feet Cloth coupons, 30 Jean Cotton coupons, 30 Industrial vouchers, 10 Tobacco coupons, 10 Liquor coupons, 50 Jean Rice, 50 Jean Wheat Flour, 30 Jean Millet, 20 Jean Broomcorn Millet, 10 Jean Mung Beans, 100 Jean Chinese Cabbage, 50 Jean Turnips, 20 Jean Kidney Beans, 20 Jean Tomatoes, 20 Jean Lard, 30 Jean Soybean Oil, 10 Jean Fruit Drops, 10 Jean White Rabbit Milk Candies, 1 box Soda Crackers, 10 Jean Sunflower Seeds, 20 meters plain white cloth, 20 meters blue, checked homespun cloth, 50 boxes matches, 50 candles, 20 bars laundry soap, 20 bars scented soap, 5 jars vanishing cream, 1 alarm clock, 1 bicycle. Gu Jiu's heart raced. The system was supplying enough provisions to support an entire family, not just herself. She already owned half of the famous 3 rotations and 1 sound set of coveted household goods. Between actual goods and corresponding purchase coupons, her stockpile of various vouchers grew into a thick stack. Adding everything together, her grain coupons totaled 258 Jean. Twice before, Yulina had invited her to go to the commune market, but Gu Jiu had no pressing need for supplies and declined. Aside from paying for vegetables and firewood, she barely spent any money. Her funds only kept growing. With the 100 yuan reward from this check-in, Gu Jiu now held a huge sum of 627.88 yuan. There were families whose combined savings could not match what she had all by herself. She had received several letters from home, every line full of care. Her family worried whether she was eating and sleeping well, whether she had enough money, and whether her body could stand the hard work. Even when Gu Jiu wrote back saying she was doing fine and her health had improved, they still could not rest easy. In one letter, Gu Zijin wrote that he planned to come visit her during the holiday. Gu Jiu wrote back turning him down, telling him to stay home. Afraid she might run short of money, Gu's parents sent another remittance slip of 50 yuan together with the second letter. Since Yulina collected all incoming mail, Gu Jiu had not gone to the commune, and the remittance slip was still in Yulina's possession. Though Gu Jiu possessed such a large sum, she could not tell her family about it. The Gu family had no idea that in just 1 month, their daughter earned more than 3 times their combined salaries. She could even support the whole family comfortably on her own income. Gu Jiu intended to keep the system a secret from everyone. Lately, she had been looking into submitting articles for publication to earn manuscript fees. This would give her a reasonable explanation for the money in her hands, and also stop her family from sending her so much cash. The day after she decided to try earning money through contributions, the system stepped up its output. Besides the usual daily money and ration coupons, it gave her piles of newspapers, various daily newspapers from past years stacked nearly 1 meter high. Gu Jiu read through countless newspapers before settling on what to write and submit. Sunday would arrive the next day, the perfect chance to mail her manuscript and spend some of her money and coupons. Having made up her mind, Gu Jiu went to tend her small vegetable garden. Carrying a basin of water, she hummed as she watered her young seedlings. This was the first time in both her past and present lives that she had grown food for herself. She cared for them meticulously, checking on them every day. Even on her way to the outhouse, she would glance over to see if the plants had grown any taller. Sometimes when comparing her plot to Yulina's, Gu Jiu thought she was quite the talented amateur farmer. Exhausted after finishing collective labor, Yulina hardly bothered with her own vegetables. Her plants grew sparse and thin. Yulina would only say, if vegetables don't want to grow, that means they don't want to be eaten. I can't go against their wishes, can I? She said it without the slightest trace of embarrassment. It was only when Gu Jiu snuck time to water Yulina's plot that total crop failure was avoided. Weeds still sprouted freely, but vegetables were far from guaranteed. The way Yulina had scattered handfuls of seeds carelessly when planting, even the seeds themselves might not feel like sprouting. Apart from receiving the large check in bonus, the rest of the afternoon passed uneventfully. Gu Jiu went about her usual chores. At dinner time, however, she noticed her appetite had grown noticeably larger. This made her happy, for it meant her body was steadily getting stronger. That night, instead of reading, Gu Jiu spent time sorting and organizing everything inside her spatial storage. She packed all the things she planned to take to the commune the next day before finally going to sleep. Unfortunately, her space lacked the function of mental power sorting. She had to arrange every item by hand, and it took quite a while to finish. The ox cart would not leave until 8 o'clock the next morning. Gu Jiu got up at her usual time. When Yulina saw that Gu Jiu was also heading for the commune, she looked pleasantly surprised. System, you said you would praise me. So go ahead and do it. Gu Jiu, handsome, kind-hearted, gentle, lovely, considerate, I can't think of any more. System, all those words are for praising people. I'm a system, Gu Jiu, I only know how to praise people. I forgot you are not one. System, I may not be human, but you are really something. Gu Jiu, I won't listen, rude words go in one ear and out the other. System, you, why didn't you tell me you were going to the commune? I thought you would skip it again this time. Noticing Yulina's slightly aggrieved look, Gu Jiu quickly explained, I only decided to go last night, so I didn't mention it. You would have found out today anyway. Fine, I forgive you. Yulina suddenly remembered something. But the ox cart leaves at 7. I'm going to meet Zhang Mei. Why are you heading out so early? We still have more than half an hour. By the way, since I didn't know you were coming, I already made plans with Zhang Mei. Come along with us. Gu Jiu declined her invitation. I can't, Nana. I'm going to the county seat today. I'm just on my way to the brigade office to ask the party branch secretary for a reference letter. Let's go together some other time. Yulina had already arranged to meet Zhang Mei, so she gave up the idea reluctantly. All right, next time then. You have to remember, tell me ahead of time when you're off to the commune. Only after Gu Jiu repeatedly promised did Yulina leave to find Zhang Mei. Gu Jiu told the secretary her medicine had run out and she needed to go to the county to get more. The secretary readily wrote her the reference letter, warning her it was only valid for that single day and reminding her not to miss the shuttle bus. Gu Jiu thanked him and hurried toward the village entrance. She was not late. Only 3 or 4 people sat on the ox cart. None of the educated youth had arrived yet. Little Gu, the educated youth, you're heading for the commune today? Old man Lu greeted her with a smile. Good morning, Grandpa Lu. I need to go to the county to refill my medicine, Gu Jiu replied. Thank you for taking me to the commune. Old man Lu tapped his tobacco pipe against his palm. No trouble at all. That's how things work around here. Once the busy farming season ends, I drive people to the commune every Sunday. But I haven't seen you on the cart the past few times. Gu Jiu answered, Oh, my health hasn't been great. Even keeping up with daily collective labor is hard for me. After work, I mostly rest at home. This trip is because my medicine is nearly gone. Old man Lu nodded. That makes sense. You really ought to take good care of that frail body of yours. You look as though a strong gust of wind could blow you away. No wonder one rarely sees you out in the village. You. Yulina's shout in the distance cut Gu Jiu off mid-sentence. Gu Jiu turned and saw Yulina trotting over, dragging Zhang Mei along behind her. You, here I am. Yulina skidded to a stop in front of Gu Jiu. Zhang Mei beside her gasped heavily for breath. Comrade Gu, you have no idea. Nana dragged me running all the way over. I thought something terrible had happened. I nearly ran myself breathless. I was just worried about you, Yulina said, still holding Zhang Mei's hand. Besides, Mei, didn't you say you wanted to hurry over and chat with you? Zhang Mei laughed. All right, I was only joking. Comrade Gu, Nana told me you're going to the county seat today. Be careful on the trip there and back. Gu Jiu joked, Thank you, Comrade Zhang. If anyone tries to pick on me, I'll just collapse. Collapse? What do you mean collapse? Yulina had climbed onto the ox cart and overheard Gu Jiu's remark, leaning over curiously to ask. Gu Jiu did not keep them guessing. You all know how fragile my health is. If something happens, I'll simply keel over. Then whoever is responsible will have to cover my medical bills. Zhang Mei and Yulina burst out laughing. Then an unpleasant voice rang out nearby. Some people, who knows whether they are really sick or just pretending. Always scheming to get money out of others. Look at how little work points she earns each day. No one knows where she gets her money from. Just look at her appearance, honestly. Before Gu Jiu could reply, Yulina spoke first. Where's this foul smell coming from? Did someone bring the outhouse with them when stepping out? Do you smell that? You. The woman's face flushed bright red with anger. She looked ready to lunge forward, but was held back by the person beside her. Chunmei, sit down quickly, a round-faced woman whispered urgently. Gu Jiu did not spare the woman called Chunmei even a glance, continuing her conversation with Yulina. I have no idea. Maybe someone forgot to brush their teeth. Chunmei's eyes turned red with rage. You shameless girl. You put on airs like a young lady from a capitalist household, feigning illness to avoid work, and behave improperly toward men. Today I'll take you to be punished so you cannot keep causing trouble. Gu Jiu grabbed Yulina's wrist to hold her back from stepping forward. Starting a fight would be disastrous. As outsiders, the villagers would almost certainly side with their own people. If they threw the first punch, they would only give others more ground to criticize them. At once Gu Jiu's face paled. She slumped into Yulina's arms, clutching her chest as if struggling to draw breath. Turning toward Zhang Mei, she said, Comrade Zhang, please go fetch the production brigade leader and the party branch secretary. Tell them someone is slandering a scent, down educated youth and causing harm. Ask them to come settle this fairly. I'm going right now. Zhang Mei sprinted off, running even faster than when Yulina had dragged her earlier. The round-faced woman reached out to stop her but was too late. She turned to Gu Jiu. Comrade Gu, this is just a small misunderstanding. There is no need to trouble the leaders. Gu Jiu kept up her appearance of being on the verge of fainting, silencing the woman at once. From the moment she heard Gu Jiu send for the brigade leaders, Chunmei's face went ashen. The accusations of slandering a cadre and harming a scent, down-educated youth carried serious consequences. Worse still, the party branch secretary was her father-in-law, who had never thought highly of her. She knew she would be in deep trouble now. It was all the fault of these two educated youth. If not for them, this would never have blown out of proportion. She had only spoken a few harsh words to Gu Jiu. It was they who insisted on making a big scene. In her heart she cursed Gu Jiu, wishing misfortune upon her. Chunmei had been consumed by jealousy ever since she first laid eyes on Gu Jiu. Gu Jiu was pretty, and her clothes had no patches, clearly showing she had grown up doted on. Thanks to her poor health, the brigade had assigned her the light work of weeding. When she overheard her father-in-law say Gu Jiu ate fine grain at every meal and received money from her family, her resentment grew deeper. Why should another woman live such a good life, while she had been married off to get a bride price for her elder brother? If she had not caught the attention of the secretary's son, she would have been forced to marry a 40-year-old man. Even as the secretary's daughter-in-law, her mother-in-law controlled everything at home, and she held no sway. Hearing that Gu Jiu regularly ate fine grain and even meat filled Chunmei's heart with swelling envy. Usually Gu Jiu rarely left the educated youth compound, so Chunmei never got the chance to say anything to her. Now when she saw Gu Jiu chatting and laughing happily, she could no longer hold her temper. Before long, Zhang Mei returned with a group of people. What is going on here? Yan Weimin saw Gu Jiu's weakened state and asked aloud. The party branch secretary also arrived. Seeing Chunmei looking distraught on the ox cart, he frowned. Chunmei? What is the matter? Why do you look like this? You said this morning you were going shopping at the commune. What has happened? Before Gu Jiu could speak, Chunmei cut in. Father. These two educated youths started insulting me and threatened to report me. And Gu Jiu here is faking sickness to frame me, collapsing out of nowhere. They even said they would trick people out of money. You have to discipline them, otherwise she will keep throwing her weight around because of her minor ailments. Gu Jiu and Yulina exchanged a glance. Wow. She was twisting facts and shifting all blame onto others. Chunmei certainly knew how to scheme. Hearing this, Li Xingli, the brigade leader, looked grim. Comrade Gu, tell us your side of the story. Though Chunmei was his daughter-in-law, he knew her temperament and wanted to hear Gu Jiu's account first. Gu Jiu propped herself up with Yulina's support. Her eyes reddened. Brigade leader, secretary, please give me justice. I cannot go on living like this. Tears rolled down her cheeks as she spoke. I came here with an official reference letter from the brigade office to get medicine in the county. I was only talking with comrades Yu and Zhang when this woman began hurling insults at me. She choked up, unable to finish her sentence. Yulina took over for her. Secretary, you have no idea how vicious her words were. She claimed Comrade Gu feigned illness to avoid labor, that she put on aristocratic airs. Worst of all, she spread rumors about her personal conduct. Such words could ruin a person's life. Jiang Mei was equally furious and spoke up for Gu Jiyu. This woman Chen Mei spreads baseless gossip about educated youth. Secretary, you must judge this fairly. Everyone knows Comrade Gu hardly steps outside the compound except for collective labor. To make such accusations is nothing but slander. Are we supposed to avoid all men from now on? If she does not retract her words, we will take this to the Educated Youth Office to seek justice. Take it to the Educated Youth Office? That could not happen. If it escalated there, their chance for this year's advanced unit award would vanish. Yan Weiman's expression turned heavy. Rest assured. As brigade cadres, we will not shield anyone. Secretary Li Xingli wiped sweat from his brow. You have my word. I will not favor her just because she is my daughter-in-law. The local cadres knew full well the rules. Slandering sent down educated youth, stirring up conflict between cadres and villagers, and triggering appeals to higher authorities were serious taboos laid down by the commune. Once reported to the Educated Youth Office, not only individuals would face punishment, but the entire Unity Brigade would lose its eligibility for annual honors and work point ratings. Li Xingli held up a hand to silence the still, chattering Chen Mei. He turned toward Gu Jiyu, who could barely stand, and spoke solemnly. Comrade Gu, we understand what has taken place. There is no need to go to the commune. We will resolve this right here. Before Chen Mei could offer more excuses, Li Xingli laid out the facts for everyone present. First, the claim that Comrade Gu pretends to be sick to avoid labor is completely false. We have seen her medical records ourselves, with an official hospital seal. Second, the accusation that she misbehaves with men is nonsense. Apart from the other educated youth, most people in this brigade have barely exchanged a word with her. Everyone knows she rarely leaves the compound, and mostly only interacts with the village children. I am not lying. Chen Mei shouted shrilly. If she did not draw men's attention, why would people call her Sister Gu? I heard it myself. Sister Gu. Yan Weiman knitted his brows. What is that about? Li Xingli shook his head, indicating he had no idea. Gu Jiyu herself looked utterly confused, while Yulina's expression shifted. I think I might know. Zhao Jianlin, who had followed the crowd over, spoke hesitantly. Yan Weiman told him speak. What is this Sister Gu? Zhao Jianlin recalled what his younger brother had said at home. My younger brother Jianya works in the fields during holidays. Once he came home and said Comrade Gu was unwell but very pretty, like a character from a book someone called Sister Lin. I suspect Sister Gu came from that. Is that so? Li Xingli looked at Chen Mei, his gaze heavy with disapproval. This was what she had taken as proof of bad conduct? Chen Mei, is that what happened? Chen Mei had no retort. She had overheard the nickname without understanding its origin. Then another thought gave her a burst of defiance. Even so, she lives in luxury. She only gathers pigweed, yet uses candy to get children to help her, and knocks off work early. That is exactly the behavior of a spoiled young lady from a capitalist background. Yan Weiman sighed. Chen Mei, you are making trouble out of nothing. Comrade Gu already spoke with me about this. She is weak and worried she could not finish her assigned task, so she asked local children to lend a hand. Those children were supposed to gather pigweed anyway, and nothing was neglected. Comrade Gu still carried the pigweed back herself. She has improved greatly lately. Everyone in the brigade knows she takes medicine regularly. Chen Mei, you must not ruin another person's reputation for no reason when she has done nothing to you. Li Xingli continued, staring straight at Chen Mei. We already verified Comrade Gu's family background with the Educated Youth Office. She comes from an ordinary worker's household. She has simply been frail since childhood, so her family cares for her. Even if she earns fewer work points, her family supports her. That is none of your business. Chen Mei paled and lowered her head. Li Xingli turned toward the onlookers. Comrade Gu Jiyu came down to the countryside to contribute to national construction, despite her poor health. She has good ideological awareness. Since arriving, she has not consumed extra collective grain nor created trouble for anyone. These educated youth sent to our village are part of our community now. Do not spread groundless rumors. Pass the word around. Stop using that nickname, Sister Gu. Glancing at Gu Jiyu's still, pale face, Li Xingli went on. Comrade Gu's poor health is genuine. Her hospital documents paint a grim picture. She needs careful food and rest, and must keep a peaceful frame of mind. Do not get yourselves into trouble. Do not take advantage of her gentle nature to spread false talk. If real harm comes of it, I will punish whoever is at fault, no matter who they are. Furthermore, Zhang Chunmei has slandered an educated youth and made unfounded accusations. She will be deducted 30 work points, pay Comrade Gu 10 eggs as compensation, and perform the punishment duty of carrying night soil for 1 month. Wayman, what do you think of this solution? Comrade Gu, feel free to speak up if you have any thoughts. Dad. Zhang Chunmei stared at Li Xingli in disbelief, unable to accept that he would punish her. I won't go carry manure. Yan Weimin had no objections to the punishment Li Xingli proposed and said nothing more. He only reminded Zhao Jianlin to deduct her work points back at the production team. Gu Jiyu never expected Zhang Chunmei to face severe consequences, but a month of manure, carrying work, ugh. Judging by Zhang Chunmei's manner, she was clearly unused to hard labor. This punishment seemed perfectly fitting for her. Secretary, I have no complaints. I just hope rumors that ruin people's reputations won't happen again. If I hadn't had a clear conscience, those lies could have destroyed a person. If something like this occurs a second time, the punishment will be far heavier than carrying manure. Yan Weimin and Li Xingli both wore serious expressions, assuring her that such incidents would never repeat. Truly, there could not be a repeat. Over the years, the production team had only seen trivial squabbles. This time the conflict had nearly brought disaster. No one's nerves could withstand another such ordeal. Onlookers pointed at the parties involved and whispered among themselves. I never thought Chunmei would act like this. Right, she always seemed amiable. Spreading damaging rumors is no small matter. She almost ruined Comrade Gu. Speaking of Comrade Gu, she looks so frail, like she could break if you bump her. I once thought her family had a good background and considered her as a match for my son Bingzi. He's old enough to marry. I'm glad I never brought it up. You old woman. Have you no sense of propriety? Comrade Gu is still so young. At least I wouldn't dare scheme against others like Chunmei. I thought her father-in-law, the secretary, would side with her. Puh. Exactly. Zhang Chunmei was roasted by everyone's gossip. Her dignity was already in tatters. She abandoned her plan to head to the commune, covered her face, and ran away sobbing. All right, everyone disperse. Get back to work. Those heading to the commune should set off quickly. Seeing the crowd growing larger and the talk turning uglier, Yan Weimin hurried to send everyone away. Once the onlookers left, he turned to Gu Jiyu. Comrade Gu, you look pale. Are you still going to the county seat today? Gu Jiyu nodded. I have to go. My medicine is nearly finished. The prescription needs advanced preparation. If I go today, I can collect the finished medicine next Sunday. Very well. Take care on the road. With that, Yan Weimin left. The secretary apologized to Gu Jiyu, promising to discipline Zhang Chunmei properly at home. Most people had departed, leaving only those traveling to the commune. When everyone was seated, old man Lu cracked his whip and drove the ox cart forward. Inside the cart, Gu Jiyu and the other young, educated women chatted. Yulina clutched her chest. I thought we would end up at the educated youth office. I never expected the cadres of our production team to be so impartial. The secretary even punished his own daughter-in-law instead of favoring her. Zhang Mei placed Gu Jiyu's bag in front of her to avoid leaning against it. Our production team may not have the best conditions, but it treats everyone fairly. I have been here more than a year. I have never heard anyone complain about biased cadres. Major conflicts rarely break out here because everyone knows wrongdoers will be punished without exception. I cannot understand why the secretary's daughter-in-law would pick a fight with Comrade Gu. Gu Jiyu rested her feet on the edge of the cart and hugged her knees. It's fine. All her accusations were false. I would not have feared an investigation at the commune anyway. Still, I didn't anticipate such a punishment for Zhang Chunmei. Just thinking about carrying manure makes me feel uneasy. Gu Jiyu covered her mouth, followed by Yulina and Zhang Mei. Zhang Mei rubbed her chest. In our production team, men usually handle manure work. Few women do it. Zhang Chunmei brought this hardship upon herself for stirring up trouble. Serves her right. Yulina was still furious. Comrade Gu barely steps outside. What reason could she have to pick on you? Seeing how upset Yulina was, Gu Jiyu felt warm inside. Calm down, Lina. She has received her punishment. After this, few people will dare provoke me. Everyone knows I am weak and easily unwell. Anyone who causes me trouble will land themselves in hot water. Yulina and Zhang Mei burst into laughter. As Gu Jiyu had said before, anyone who harassed her would face trouble. With her delicate health, no one would believe she was feigning discomfort if she fell ill from stress. Yulina suddenly thought of something and leaned over to whisper in Gu Zhiyu's ear. Ayu, back then you. Gu Zhiyu immediately understood and gently rubbed her leg. Yulina wore an expression of, just as I suspected. Zhang Mei stared in shock, amazed by the trick. Brilliant. The three continued chatting to pass travel time. Other passengers on the cart talked among themselves too. Though the cart was full, no one mentioned Zhang Chunmei. Everyone feared bringing up the matter would agitate Gu Zhiyu and make her unwell. Had they forgotten the secretary's warning to watch her mood? When they reached the commune, Gu Zhiyu hurried toward the commune passenger station. Luckily, the ox cart stopped not far away. She boarded the final bus bound for the county seat just before 8:10. Settling into her seat, Gu Zhiyu sighed in relief, worn out by the rush. Comrade Gu, you look a little better than before. A voice suddenly sounded behind her, startling Gu Zhiyu. She twisted around abruptly. Oh, Comrade Yi. Yi Zhiyu raised an eyebrow. Comrade Gu, what were you about to say? Gu Zhiyu forced a smile. I was saying what a coincidence. Are you heading to the county seat too, Comrade Yi? Yi Zhiyu nodded. Yes, I have some business there. How's your health? You still look pale. I'm all right. I took my medicine. I'm going to the county to get more prepared. Gu Zhiyu quietly rubbed her leg. No wonder her face was pale. She had pressed hard earlier. Her skin was likely bruised from the pressure, and it still ached. Yi Zhiyu noticed her small movement and smiled secretly. She really was charming. The bus traveled onward. More passengers climbed aboard, and all sorts of smells filled the cabin. The two fell silent. Gu Zhiyu pulled an orange out of her bag and held it under her nose. After a moment, she tore it in half and held out one portion toward the back seat. Comrade Yi, have this. Yi Zhiyu stared at the half-orange and hesitated, not taking it immediately. Gu Zhiyu stretched her hand closer. Take it. Coming to his senses, Yi Zhiyu accepted the orange segment. Once he took it, Gu Zhiyu turned back to her seat and held the remaining orange under her nose. Its fresh fragrance helped her bear the unpleasant odors inside the bus. She had a reason to share the orange. One good turn deserves another. 2 skinned rabbits remained inside her storage space, and she had no idea how to deal with them. Yi Zhiyu held the orange without eating or smelling it, lost in thought. The coach soon arrived in the county seat. The county passenger station stood near the South City Gate, a short walk from the main street. Before getting off, Gu Zhiyu asked the driver and confirmed the last return bus left at 3 in the afternoon. She bid Yi Zhiyu farewell and headed toward the pharmacy. On the ox cart, Zhang Mei had told her the pharmacy was close. Walk right out of the station gate for 3 to 5 minutes, and she would spot it easily. Zhang Mei had bought medicine there previously. The pharmacy was indeed easy to find. A wooden shop sign with red characters on a white background marked the herbal medicine store. When she pushed the door open, a strong scent of medicinal herbs washed over her. A shop assistant in a white coat waited behind a glass counter for her paperwork. Comrade, I need my prescription filled. Gu Zhiyu pulled out the hospital certificate and the introduction letter issued by the village. The assistant glanced at the paperwork and looked up. What medicine do you need prepared? Let me see the prescription. Gu Zhiyu handed over the prescription. The assistant's expression shifted. Having worked in the pharmacy for years, he could tell at a glance this was an excellent formula. He looked back at Gu Zhiyu. Comrade, may I take this prescription to the doctor in the back room for a look? Gu Zhiyu refused at once. I'm sorry. This prescription cannot be shared. Can you prepare the medicine or not? When Gu Zhiyu reached to retrieve the paper, the assistant grew tense. If he could get hold of this formula, it would earn him great merit. Still, other customers watched, leaving no room for underhanded schemes. Comrade, I can prepare your medicine immediately. Please wait a moment. The assistant called over another staff member and whispered instructions. The man shot Gu Zhiyu a glance before heading to the back room. One batch of medicine costs 3 yuan and me 80 jiao. If we turn it into medicinal pills, there is an extra 20 jiao processing fee. Each batch makes roughly 14 pills. The pills cannot dry fully today, so you will need to collect them tomorrow. How many batches would you like prepared? I understand. Prepare 10 batches for me. Write out the receipt, and I will pay. I will collect the medicine next Sunday. Gu Zhiyu handed over the money. She hoped to settle the matter quickly. The man's stare earlier warned her trouble might follow. The price was 30 jiao higher than when she prepared medicine in the village. Probably higher, quality raw herbs. Seeing the assistant moving sluggishly, Gu Zhiyu urged him. Comrade, can you hurry? I have other errands to run. The prescription cannot be shared with anyone. Please speed things up. The assistant smiled awkwardly. Right away, right away. He worked faster, silently complaining that the man he sent had failed to bring support quickly. Wait. The medicine had all been measured out. Gu Jiu stored her prescription and receipt inside her storage space and prepared to leave when an elderly doctor pulled aside the curtain and hurried out from the back room. Gu Jiu knew he was after the health-preserving pill formula. She called inwardly. System, are you there? I am here, host. If someone tries to copy the health-preserving pill formula I obtained from check-in rewards, will the copied medicine work? Rest assured, host. Without your authorization, any medicine made from stolen versions of the formula will have no effect. This prescription cannot be replicated successfully. Gu Jiu relaxed. Sir, are you calling for me? The old man waved his hand. No need for formalities. I heard you hold a remarkable prescription. Let me see it. Gu Jiu smiled calmly. I'm sorry. My medicine has already been prepared. I have said the prescription cannot be shown to anyone, so I cannot let you view it. The old man puffed out his cheeks angrily and raised his voice. Young lady, what harm would there be in letting me look? I would not ask if you were not the owner of this formula. Anyone could copy the list of medicinal ingredients to make the medicine themselves. All resources belong to the nation now. A fine prescription could save countless lives. You would be contributing to the country. Hand over the prescription, and you will receive official recognition for your contribution. Hand it over? Gu Jiu nearly laughed out of exasperation. She might have considered selling it, but demanding she surrender it for nothing was audacious. I apologize. This formula belongs to me, and I will not hand it over. If you can replicate it yourself, feel free to try. You would not need my prescription then. The old man stood firm, refusing to back down. I will replicate it myself. You are being short-sighted. What harm comes from giving it to the nation? Do not be so selfish. The state will acknowledge your contributions. Gu Jiu was stunned by his argument. Some people truly believed everyone ought to sacrifice everything for the collective. She could not think that way. She simply wanted to live a peaceful life and refused to accept moral coercion. What you say sounds reasonable. You are welcome to attempt to recreate the formula. I will not share my prescription. My 10 batches of medicine should be properly prepared, I trust. What do you mean? I am a doctor. I would never tamper with your medicine. Keep your prescription if you insist. I will figure it out myself. The old man looked thoroughly insulted. Gu Jiu shrugged. Very well. You may carry out your research. I will return next weekend to collect my medicine. With that, she left, ignoring the old man fuming behind her. The shop assistant who had weighed out her medicine stared at Gu Jiu's retreating back, thinking only one thought. Is she foolish? If she handed the prescription over voluntarily, she could earn rewards. If others managed to recreate it first, she would gain nothing. Only days later, when the old doctor's replicated medicine failed to achieve even a fraction of the effect of Gu Jiu's batches, did he understand why she had not worried about leaks. Secure in the system's guarantee, Gu Jiu paid the matter no mind. She left the pharmacy and headed for the post office to mail her articles and letters. After posting her mail, she went straight to the department store. Outside the main entrance, Gu Jiu claimed her daily check in reward. Glancing inside her storage space, she found the reward consisted mostly of cash and tickets. As if the system knew she planned to shop. She received 100 yuan, stacks of various ration tickets, plus a bicycle. Gu Jiu stared at the bicycle in her storage space, unsure what to think. It was useless to her. Short distances required no transport, and she could not travel far by bike anyway. Otherwise, she would have bought one long ago. Oh well. She would keep it for now. She had plenty of time, and it might prove useful someday. Time to shop. Gu Jiu walked into the department store and headed straight for the second floor. On the second floor, she went directly to the industrial goods counter and bought a radio. Now she owned all 3 rotating household goods and 1 sounding appliance. It cost 26 yuan and 10 industrial coupons. Gu Jiu thought the price reasonable. Next, she visited the footwear counter. She bought cloth shoes, rubber work shoes, rain boots, and a pair of available warrior sneakers in her size. After picking out several ready-made outfits, she purchased thick fabric to make winter cotton coats later. She did not lack clothing, but she held too many cloth tickets that needed to be used. She might as well spend some. Seeing nothing else she needed on the second floor, she wrapped her purchases in cloth, picked up the bundle, and walked downstairs. Stepping outside the department store, she found a quiet alley, stored everything inside her space, then walked back into the building. She had not finished shopping on the ground floor yet. Back inside the department store, Gu Jiu felt like a mouse loose in a granary, thoroughly delighted. She had always loved stockpiling supplies. Now she had unlimited cash and tickets, plus storage space where goods would never spoil. Gu Jiu cheered inwardly. Fate was on her side. She bought large quantities of snacks, fruit candy, orange candy, crisp biscuits, furnace pastries, egg cakes. Unfortunately, White Rabbit cream candy was sold out. At the alcohol counter, she saw no Matai liquor. Clearly, novels did not always reflect reality. Though Matai was absent, she bought several bottles of wine and fruit wine that required no tickets, planning to sample them during quiet evenings. She then visited the stationery and hardware counter to buy writing paper and ink, finishing her shopping trip at the department store. Once again, she found a secluded spot to put all goods into storage before heading for the state-run restaurant. It was noon. She needed lunch. Her delicate constitution could not endure hunger. The county state-run restaurant served a rich midday meal with more than a dozen dishes to choose from. Gu Jiu ordered sweet and sour pork ribs, braised pork ribs, sautéed cabbage with vinegar, and seaweed egg drop soup. The meal cost 1 yuan and 66 jiao, plus 5 liang of grain tickets and 6 liang of meat tickets. She repeatedly assured the server she would take leftovers home under their skeptical gaze before finding an empty table. She sank onto the stool and exhaled. Walking for over 2 hours left her gasping for breath. The food arrived quickly. Only minutes after sitting down, she was called to collect her dishes. The restaurant served generous portions. She made several trips to carry all the plates to her table. One bite of sweet and sour pork sent refreshing sour, sweet flavor rushing through her. Paired with steamed rice, it tasted incredible. Gu Jiu was savoring her meal when someone sat down beside her. Comrade Gu, all tables are occupied. Would you mind sharing this table? Gu Jiu was mid-bite of pork rib. She lifted her head, holding the rib between her teeth and looking utterly dazed. Comrade Yi. Yu Jiu's eyes flickered. It is me. The restaurant is packed at noon with no empty seats left. Gu Jiu glanced around. Every table was full. She nodded. Sit down. There is still space on this table. She pulled her plates closer to herself to clear half the tabletop and continued eating. Yi Jiu felt a twinge of disappointment as she kept her head down eating without pause. He subtly touched his own face, confused. He thought he had a pleasant appearance. Qin Zhan always said his looks attracted many young women. Gu Jiu had stared at him before, so why paid him no attention now? If Gu Jiu knew his thoughts, she would have told him beauty could not fill an empty stomach. Food mattered far more than good looks when hunger struck. Neither spoke after that. The meal passed in her silence and his quiet confusion. Gu Jiu ate slowly, chewing thoroughly. Even though she had started first, Yi Jiu finished long before her. Several minutes later, Gu Jiu finally finished eating. She packed leftover food into her lunchbox and placed it in her bag. When she looked up, she found Yi Jiu still seated. You have not left yet, Comrade Yi. I thought you stood up to leave earlier and someone else would take the seat. Yi Jiu was completely confused. Was the food really that delicious that she paid no attention to her dining companion? I finished all my errands in the county. When I spotted you, I hoped we could travel back together this afternoon. Now it was Gu Jiu's turn to feel confused. Why did he suddenly want to travel as a pair? I plan to visit the waste collection station to look for books later, so I cannot accompany you. Yi Jiu replied, I can go with you. I can carry your things. You have poor health and should avoid overexertion. We are both educated youth, helping one another is only right. Gu Jiu thought to herself, fine, he could tag along. He could even lend a hand. Worst comes to worst, she'd just serve him an extra bowl of rabbit stew later. Yi Jiu, on the other hand, had other thoughts. Gu Jiu was the first girl he'd taken a fancy to in all these years. He had to make an effort. Even though Comrade Gu seemed to want for nothing, there was always a chance, wasn't there? What if she grew fond of him? Didn't people say hard work brings luck? Comrade Gu was still young. He could take things slow. There was no rush. Gu Jiu turned down Yi Jiu's outstretched hand, reaching for her bag. Once they'd gathered their belongings, they headed toward the scrap collection station. The scrap station was smaller than the one in Sioux City, yet everything was neatly arranged. A 60-something man watched over the premises, looking vigorous and hearty. Spotting the two of them approaching, he spoke first. What are you two here for? Yu Jiu fell silent and glanced at Gu Jiu, so she answered the old man. Uncle, I'd like to get some old newspapers to line walls and start fires. I'd appreciate your help. The old man sized them both up. All right, but don't rummage around blindly inside. Pick what you need and come right back, don't linger. Gu Jiu readily agreed, then followed Yu Jiu into the inner room to look for supplies. Once inside, she turned to him. Comrade Yi, you can look for anything you might need to. Let's split up to save time. Yu Jiu could tell she preferred to separate. Figuring he could help carry her things once she finished picking, he nodded. Sounds good. I'll search for a few items I could use as well. Gu Jiu let out a quiet sigh of relief. If they stayed together, how could she sneak things into her spatial storage? Yu Jiu's help carrying goods was convenient, but using her space meant she had to be discreet. There were pros and cons either way. She pushed the thought aside. First, she needed to find what she came for. Gu Jiu sifted through piles of books and paper, gathering a large stack of clean newspapers. She also stashed many usable books into her space, picking out any volumes that seemed worthwhile or readable. Eventually, she carried the tall stack of newspapers outside. Yu Jiu was already waiting by the gate beside the old man. When he saw her emerge, he hurried over and took the newspapers from her arms. Comrade Yi, what did you find? You came out so quickly. Freed of the heavy load, Gu Jiu caught her breath and asked curiously. Yu Jiu carried the stack over for the old man to weigh as he replied. Nothing much I needed. Just a few small spare parts, most of them useless, so I didn't take long. Watching him bear the newspapers effortlessly, Gu Jiu felt a twinge of envy. Simply put, she envied anyone with a sturdier constitution than hers. These newspapers weigh 20 jin total. 3 yuan will do. I'll tie them up securely for you, the old man told Gu Jiu. After she paid, Yu Jiu picked up the bundle, and the two left the scrap station. Gu Jiu tilted her head to look at him. I want to stop by the supply and marketing cooperative next. Are you coming with me? Sure. I need to pick up a few things too. Yu Jiu agreed without hesitation. Gu Jiu rarely left the educated youth compound. This was a perfect chance to spend more time with her. Ideally, he could win her over before she came of age. He thought of his young uncle back home and resolved to conduct himself properly in public while taking the initiative when he could. Gu Jiu seemed utterly oblivious to romantic overtures, so he decided to take his time and steadily grow closer to her. His uncle was a cautionary tale. He had no intention of repeating his mistake and remaining single well into his 30s. The pair walked slowly toward the cooperative. Gu Jiu had noticed Yu Jiu acting a little strange, yet she reasoned they barely interacted on ordinary days, so it was probably nothing. She shrugged it off. Whatever would be, would be. She needed to hurry to the cooperative to catch the shuttle bus afterward. At the cooperative, Gu Jiu bought a woven backpack basket. She put the newspapers inside first, then added food supplies and sheets of white paper, filling most of the basket. Yu Jiu also bought a sack of daily necessities and snacks. Stepping outside, Gu Jiu saw him holding her basket in one hand and his own purchases in the other. Comrade Yi, there's still space in the basket. Put your belongings in it too. Carrying it on your back will be easier than holding everything by hand. Yu Jiu obediently placed his items inside and slung the basket over his shoulders. Are you worried I'll tire myself out, Comrade Gu? Hearing that, Gu Jiu spoke plainly. You're helping me carry my things after all. It's only right I make things easier for you. That counted as progress, Yu Jiu thought. If he kept helping her out, more opportunities would arise. I'm fine. I'm fit. This weight is nothing. Don't worry about me, Comrade Gu. They chatted as they made their way toward the passenger terminal with plenty of time to spare. As their conversation unfolded, Gu Jiu found herself thinking highly of Yu Jiu. He was good-looking, pleasant, natured, and knowledgeable, able to converse smoothly no matter the topic. The thought crossed her mind that he seemed like an ideal match. Then she remembered she was only 16. Her enthusiasm cooled at once. Early romance wasn't a good idea. Still, meeting someone who suited her preferences was rare. If he was still unattached by the time she turned 18, she would find a way to pursue him. This was the decision Gu Jiu made. It wasn't that she was head over heels for him already, but he was undeniably handsome. Good looks wouldn't fill her stomach, but they certainly made meals more enjoyable. They talked about literature and geography outwardly, yet each harbored their own private thoughts, with surprisingly similar goals. In a way, wasn't that a case of reaching the same destination by different paths? They located the shuttle bus back to the commune, boarded, and found seats. There were still more than 10 minutes until departure. The bus already held many passengers. They sat in the very last row. Yijiu let Gujiu take the window seat on the inside and sat on the outer side, so other boarding passengers wouldn't jostle her. The bus departed promptly at 3 o'clock. Just like that morning, the air inside smelled unpleasant. Gujiu pulled out an orange from her bag and split it, handing half to Yijiu. This time, he didn't merely hold it. He peeled and ate it. Juicy citrus flavor spread across his tongue as he glanced sideways at Gujiu sitting beside him. Sweet, he thought. Once they arrived at the commune, Gujiu took the woven basket back from Yijiu, ready to walk the rest of the way to the production brigade. The ox cart had already returned by then. She planned to transfer the contents of the basket into her spatial storage along the road and take them out again shortly before reaching the compound. Wait a moment. Gujiu had just lifted her foot to leave when Yijiu grabbed her arm. She looked at him in confusion. What's wrong? If we delay, we won't get home before dusk. I rode a bicycle here and left it with a friend in the commune. Come with me to fetch it, and I can cycle you back. No wonder I didn't see you on the ox cart. A bicycle is much faster, Gujiu nodded. Thank you for your trouble, Comrade Yi. She followed him to retrieve the bicycle. When she saw where they'd arrived, she looked surprised. Comrade Yi, is your friend a public security officer? Yes, Yijiu replied. He's the son of my father's comrade in arms. I left my bike here. Wait for me at the gate. I'll go greet him and bring the bicycle out. Gujiu stood by the entrance waiting. Several passers-by glanced repeatedly at her, but fortunately, no one stopped to talk to her. She wouldn't have known what to say if they had. Meanwhile, Yijiu was facing an inquisition. A man in his 20s stood before him, looking eager to hear the full story. Tell me, what's going on with that young lady? He nodded meaningfully toward Gujiu waiting outside the gate. The man was Huang Jiangwo. His father had fought alongside Yijiu's father. He had known Yijiu since childhood. After Huang Jiangwo's father, Huang Liqiang, retired and was assigned to work here, the two lost touch. They reconnected only after Yijiu came to work as an educated youth in the area and paid the Huang family a visit. Now Huang Jiangwo pressed him for answers. Is she your girlfriend? But I heard from my father you've never even held a girl's hand. You don't have a girlfriend. Besides, she looks quite young. Be honest, what's your relationship, and why did you come into town together? Seeing Huang Jiangwo's avid curiosity, Yijiu sighed helplessly. She's another educated youth. She's only 16. Don't spread unfounded rumors. You'll ruin her reputation. Huang Jiangwo rolled his eyes. Save it. We haven't seen each other in years, but I haven't forgotten. You were always full of mischief as a kid, dragging me into trouble. You'd come up with all the schemes, and I'd always end up getting scolded. I don't believe you'd do something without a reason. Huang Jiangwo paused, reconsidering. In the past, you'd chase off any girls who tried to talk to you. Tell me the truth, do you have a crush on her? I'm warning you, she's still underage. Don't do anything reckless. I'm a public security officer now, and I won't hesitate to take action if you step out of line. Yijiu felt a headache. What kind of impression had he left on this man? Enough speculation. I'm grabbing my bicycle and leaving. Next time I come to the commune, I'll treat you to a meal. Before pushing open the door to leave, he shot Huang Jiangwo a warning look. Keep your mouth shut. If word gets back to my family, he left the sentence unfinished, yet the implicit threat was clear. Huang Jiangwo shuddered. Got it, got it. My lips are sealed. I won't say a word. Satisfied with the promise, Yijiu stepped outside. The moment Yijiu left, Huang Jiangwo picked up the telephone. Dad, I've got something to tell you. Yijiu brought a young girl over today. She's very pretty, just really young, only 16. Listen to what I saw. Yijiu had no idea he was being reported behind his back. He wheeled the bicycle out to the gate and spoke to Gujiu. He sat on the bike, propping one foot on the ground. Climb on, Comrade Gu. Yijiu hung the woven basket from the front crossbar and told Gujiu to sit on the rear seat. Hold on tight. We're setting off. Gujiu gripped the frame beneath the seat. I'm ready. Let's go. All right. Yijiu responded and began pedaling. Wanting to get Gujiu home quickly so she could rest, he cycled at a brisk pace. Whoa, slow down. They hadn't traveled halfway when Gujiu called out, grabbing the hem of Yijiu's shirt around his waist and signaling him to stop. As soon as the bicycle halted, Gujiu hopped off and shifted from foot to foot. Too embarrassed to rub her sore bottom openly, bouncing about offered minor relief. Yu was actually a capable cyclist, but the road was bumpy, and the all-metal rear seat was terribly uncomfortable. Gu pulled a stack of newspapers out of the basket, laid them over the seat, and climbed back on. Yu started cycling again, this time moving much slower. He chided himself inwardly. He was so used to riding alone that he hadn't considered how uncomfortable the passenger would be. He'd have to sew a cushion for the seat later. They arrived back at the Educated Youth compound after 5 o'clock. The yard was quiet. Yulina was nowhere to be seen. Yu stopped the bicycle at the gate, then pushed it alongside Gu into the yard. When they reached Gu's doorway, he set down the basket and retrieved his own belongings. "I'll head back now, Comrade Gu." "Wait," Gu called after him. "Thank you for all your help today. Stay and share a meal." Yu's eyes lit up. "I'd be grateful. I'll drop off my things and come over to help cook." "Very well." Gu unlocked her door, carried her supplies into the inner room, then rummaged through her spatial storage. She took out a rabbit, a chicken, some dried shiitake mushrooms, 2 large potatoes, several tomatoes, and 2 links of preserved sausage. She planned to start steaming rice straight away. Jiu cleaned the pot, rinsed the rice, and set it to cook. She placed the sausages in the steamer alongside the rice. The rice would soak up the savory sausage aroma and taste wonderful. She covered the pot and was about to carry firewood inside when Yu appeared, his arms loaded with firewood. "Comrade Gu, what can I help with?" "There is plenty to do." Gu gestured toward the table. "Clean this rabbit for me." "A rabbit?" Yu looked surprised. Could someone of her slight build have caught one? Gu wore an innocent expression. "Yes. I was gathering pig fodder yesterday and found it. It must have eaten something toxic. I thought it was dead, but as soon as I picked it up, it sprang back to life. I struggled greatly to pin it down before it could escape." She blinked at Yu. "I was worrying about how to dress it myself, and here you arrived just in time." Yu looked at her, amused. She certainly knew how to get what she wanted. "Very well, I'll get to work." He carried the rabbit outside. Gu lit the stove fire and began peeling potatoes. By the time the rice finished steaming, Gu had prepared all the other ingredients, and Yu had finished cleaning the rabbit. Glancing at the 2 substantial dishes waiting to be stewed, Gu turned to him. "Comrade Yi, could we use your stove for 1 dish? I don't have enough pots here." "Certainly. Which one should I take over?" Gu thought it over. "The rabbit. You're already holding it, so you can carry it directly there." She planned to fry the rabbit with chili. The spicy smoke would fill her small room, so cooking it at Yu's place was ideal. Yu carried the rabbit meat, while Gu gathered the seasonings and followed him to his quarters. Stepping inside, Gu noticed the layout matched her own room exactly, with a heated partition wall built in the center. Seeing her staring at it, Yu explained. "When I had my house repaired, I spoke to the craftsman. I thought your design was practical, so I asked them to build an identical heated partition." "I see." Gu nodded and set down her things. "Boil some water first. The rabbit meat needs blanching. The rice is ready over at my place. I need to go start stewing the chicken." As she walked out the door, she glanced back. "Don't forget to add a couple slices of ginger. I left them in that bowl." She hurried back to her own room. When she lifted the pot lid, Gu drew in a deep breath. Wow, it smelled incredible. She took out the steamed sausages and set them aside to cool before slicing. She fetched an enamel basin, scooped the cooked rice into it, and covered the rice and sausages with a woven food cover to keep flies away. Gu added more firewood to keep the stove burning. She cleaned the pot, dried it thoroughly, poured in cooking oil, and sautéed ginger and spring onions to release their fragrance. Next, she added the chicken pieces and fried them until golden brown. She poured rice wine in to remove the gamey smell, added seasonings, tossed everything, then poured boiling water from the thermos into the pot. Once the liquid reached the right level, she added the mushrooms, covered the pot, and left it to simmer. The fire would last long enough. She headed over to Yu's room to check on progress. When she arrived, the rabbit meat had been blanched and soaking in cold water in a basin, while Yu washed the pot. "Comrade Yi, we still have time before we cook the rabbit. Let's prepare the side dishes first." Gu suspected Yulina would return soon. Since his stove was already heated, they could make the other dishes now without delaying the meal. Yu agreed, and the 2 walked back to collect the ingredients. As luck would have it, they stepped out the door just as Yulina came into the yard. The moment Yulina spotted Gujiu walking out of Yijiu's room, her curiosity flared. She trotted over to Gujiu's side. Hey, you, why did you come out of Comrade Ye's room? Are you too? A faint smile tugged at Yijiu's lips as he heard her unfinished question. Gujiu immediately understood what she was implying and tapped Yulina's arm. Don't make unfounded assumptions. I ran into Comrade Yi in town today. He helped me carry my things and cycled me back, so I invited him for dinner. I was actually about to look for you too. Go fetch Comrade Zhang Mei and ask her to join us as well. Yijiu's smile faded at once. Yulina glanced between Yijiu and Gujiu, sensing there was more beneath the surface. She had witnessed Yijiu sharply turn away another girl who tried to strike up a conversation. His cutting words were intimidating, and Yulina had always been wary of him. Yet here he was, voluntarily helping Gujiu. Interesting. Gujiu appeared completely oblivious to any underlying feelings. Yulina anticipated seeing how things unfolded. All right, I'll get Zhang Mei. I was just at her place, and she hasn't eaten either. Once I tell her, I'll come back to help you cook. Good, hurry along. We only have a few more side dishes to finish. Yulina hurried off. Gujiu carried ingredients to Yijiu's room to start stir-frying. Yulina and Zhang Mei arrived soon. Seeing Gujiu stir-frying, the two looked around, not knowing where to start. Noticing them standing idly by, Gujiu said, Nana, take Zhang Mei to my room and keep an eye on the pot. I have chicken stewing inside. Also cut up the sausages on the table. Glad to have something to do, Yulina pulled Zhang Mei away. Before leaving, she stole a glance at Yijiu, who was tending the stove. Yijiu had noticed long ago. The young educated woman's gaze kept shifting between him and Gujiu, as if she had figured out what was on his mind. Well, let her find out. It was nothing to be ashamed of. Comrade Gu, should I stoke the fire higher? Gujiu kept moving her spatula. This heat is fine. Could you fetch 2 eggs from my cupboard, Comrade Yi? I'm going to make soup later. Instead of heading over, Yijiu took 2 eggs from a basket in his kitchen and set them aside. Gujiu did not want to use his supplies. I invited you to dinner today. I can't let you provide eggs. Put them back quickly. Ignoring her, Yijiu cracked the eggs into a bowl and whisked them. You've prepared chicken and rabbit meat already. 2 eggs for me hardly change the fact that this is your treat. Hurry up with your cooking, I'm starving. Gujiu thought his reasoning made sense. Yijiu could certainly spare 2 eggs, so she let it be. Once the shredded potatoes were plated, Gujiu poured more oil into the pot, fried the tomatoes for a while, added boiling water and seasonings, then covered the pot to wait for the liquid to simmer. Comrade Yi, watch the pot for me. I need to grab something. With that, Gujiu walked toward her room. Inside Gujiu's kitchen, Yulina was watching the stew while Zhang Mei had just finished slicing the sausages and arranged them on a plate. When Gujiu walked in, Yulina spoke up. Yuyu, I checked the stew. There's plenty left, it still needs some time to simmer. It's all right. I haven't finished cooking over there yet. I came to get some starch to thicken the soup. Could you two tidy up the table and get the bowls and chopsticks ready? We can eat as soon as the dishes are done. Zhang Mei grinned. Don't be so polite, Comrade Gu. You're treating us to such a lavish meal. Doing a little work is nothing. If someone offered me meat regularly, I'd happily work every day. Wiping a table is trivial. Gujiu laughed. Very well. Then I'll rely on you, Comrade Zhang. Go fetch Nana's stool from her room so we have enough seats. Have extra servings of meat later as your reward. Zhang Mei waved her hand confidently. Leave everything to me. I'll get it sorted out neatly. Yulina chimed in too. Count me in too. I can help. Great. Both of you eat your fill. I'm heading back now. When the soup over there looks ready, ladle it out into the large bowls in the cupboard. Gujiu figured the soup must be boiling by now. She picked up the starch and an enamel basin to hold the soup, then hurried off. Her timing was spot on. The soup was bubbling away. Yijiu had already lifted the lid and set it aside. He smiled when he saw her come in. Your timing is impeccable, Comrade Gu. I was just about to call you. Gujiu thickened the soup as she replied. It's just luck. I used boiling water, so it comes to a boil faster. Comrade Yi, pass me the eggs. Yijiu handed the bowl over and asked, Comrade Gu, why thickened tomato and egg soup? Gujiu swirled her spatula to spread the egg evenly in the pot. Thickened soup has a smoother texture. It's how I like it. Give it a taste later, it's quite nice. Yijiu nodded. If you say it's good, I'll have to drink 2 bowls to try your favorite way of making soup. Something about his words struck Gujiu as odd. What did he mean by trying her favorite soup? Still, she did not read too much into it. She was still young, so she never imagined anyone would harbor romantic feelings for her. Unable to work it out, she chose not to dwell on the thought. Gu Jiu never wasted energy overthinking things. After ladling the soup out, she rinsed the rabbit meat thoroughly and drained the water. Stoke the fire higher, Comrade Yi. Yi Jiu added 2 logs to the stove, and the flames flared up. Once the pot was dry, she poured in oil, sautéed ginger, scallions, dried chili peppers and Sichuan peppercorns to release their fragrance, then tossed in the rabbit meat to stir-fry. Sudden flames flared up inside the wok. Yi Jiu jumped, about to pull Gu Jiu away, yet she continued stirring calmly as if nothing had happened. Comrade Gu cough. Yi Jiu's words were cut off by the spicy fumes filling the room. He watched Gu Jiu's eyes redden slightly from the smoke and suddenly understood why she had chosen to cook the rabbit meat here. Appearances truly could be deceiving. This delicate-looking young girl was sharp and quick-witted. As Gu Jiu kept stirring, the rich aroma of rabbit meat mixed with spicy flavors drifted through the air, tantalizing anyone nearby. And someone was drawn over by the scent. Brother Yi, what delicious food are you cooking? It smells incredible. I never knew you were such a good cook. Yi, Comrade Gu. Comrade Gu. Work had finished for the day. As soon as Qin stepped into the courtyard, the tempting aroma made his mouth water. Ignoring everyone else, he followed the scent straight to Yi Jiu's doorway. He froze the moment he saw Gu Jiu at the stove, eyes wide with surprise. Why are you cooking, Comrade Gu? And here at Brother Ye's place, what's going on between you two? Qin suspicious gaze darted back and forth between them. Gu Jiu did not lift her head, continuing her work. Comrade Yi helped me out today, so I invited him for dinner. I didn't have enough stoves at my place, so I borrowed his. Comrade Yi, could you get me some water? Yu Jiu scooped more than half a gourd of water and handed it to her. Is this enough? Perfect. Gu Jiu poured the water into the pot. Qin stared at the scene in shock. It looked just like how his parents cooked at home, one at the stove and the other assisting. He rubbed his eyes, half, hoping he was imagining it. Recalling Gu Jiu's words, his mouth fell open. He turned to Yi Jiu. Brother Yi is helping you? Yes. Comrade Yi is very helpful. He even gave me a ride back on his bicycle. He's truly a good person, Gu Jiu affirmed, speaking highly of his character. Yi Jiu had just been labeled a good person, and he felt a strange unease he could not explain. Qin looked utterly disbelieving. You're talking about Brother Yi? Helpful? A good person? That can't be. Comrade Gu, let me tell you. Yi Jiu clapped a hand over Qin's mouth. Finish cooking, Comrade Gu. I need to step outside and talk to him for a moment. He grabbed Qin by the neck and dragged him out. Come with me. Brother Yi, why are you pulling me? Qin wriggled free, sounding annoyed. Yi Jiu frowned at him. Don't spout nonsense in front of Comrade Gu. Qin immediately bristled. I wasn't talking nonsense. Every word is the truth. Apart from looking decent, where is he a good person? You think he's helpful? I've known him for years, I know exactly what he's like. And he's actively. Qin trailed off as a thought hit him. Brother Yi, you don't mean. Yi Jiu nodded, confirming his suspicion. Brother Yi. Qin raised his voice sharply, only to be silenced again. Keep your voice down. Do you want the whole village to hear? Yi Jiu let go and Qin lowered his tone. You said not long ago that Comrade Gu Jiu was too young and you had no interest in her. Has a single month made her grow up all of a sudden? Qin spoke earnestly. Brother Yi, we're sent down to the countryside, but we can't make serious mistakes. Uncle Yi will never forgive you. You can be tricky, but you can't act improperly. Comrade Gu is only 16. Stay sensible. Yi Jiu felt a headache listening to him. He almost wanted to ask if Qin knew Huang Jiangwo. He had barely done anything, yet everyone viewed him with such suspicion. Just keep your mouth shut. Don't say anything reckless around Comrade Gu. You know what will happen if I hear you. Fine. Qin pouted. Some good person indeed. Even so, if you try anything improper, I'll write a letter to Uncle Yi. I'll keep an eye on you. Yi Jiu nodded dismissively. All right, just be quiet. The smell of food drifted out, and Qin swallowed hard. Brother Yi, you helped Comrade Gu, so she's treating you to dinner. Can you ask if I can join? I can work for my meal. I can offer money, food coupons, and grain. I'll do any work, just let me have a bite. The aroma was overwhelming. Seeing Qin desperate state, Yi Jiu thought he barely recognized him. Ask her yourself. Given permission, Qin rushed straight inside. Comrade Gu. I can work too. Can I join your meal? If needed, I can pay with tickets and grain. Please, I'll tackle any chore, just let me eat. Gu Jiu smiled watching Qin practically beg for food. He was just like a sheltered young man. She actually needed an extra hand, and she had prepared plenty of food, so there was room for one more. Very well. There's work to be done, but you'll need to bring your own stool. Qin lit up. No problem. I'm a hard worker. I'll wash my face and be right over. Where are we eating? Here, brother, yes. No, at my place. Bring your stool over. I'll finish cooking shortly. Gu Jiu turned toward Yi Jiu, who stood by the doorway. Could you carry the finished dishes over, Comrade Yi? It's no trouble. I'll be eating there too. Yi Jiu picked up the soup basin and headed out. Yulina had just ladled the stewed chicken into a large basin, rich fragrance filling the air. When she saw Yi Jiu arrive with the soup, she quickly lifted the food cover to make space. Comrade Yi, does Ayuyu need help over there? We've finished everything here. Yi Jiu shook his head. Only one dish left to cook. I'll bring it over shortly. Qin will also eat with us. Please set out an extra set of bowls and chopsticks. That's easy. Go fetch the dish, Comrade Yi. Yulina opened the cupboard at once. While washing dishes, Zhang Mei spoke to Yulina. Comrade Gu has such a complete set of belongings, she has everything. Yulina replied. Yes. Ayuyu said we might stay here for a long time. We should treat this place as our home and get everything we need ready. You never know when things might come in handy. I've slowly collected quite a few things for myself too. Treat this place as home? Zhang Mei fell silent at those words. She had only been struggling to survive here, thinking about earning work points and wondering when she could return to the city. She had never considered calling this place home. She snapped out of her thoughts and smiled. That's right, she has plenty of supplies. The rabbit meat in Gu Jiu's wok was finally ready. Qin hovered beside the stove, salivating, wishing Gu Jiu could feed him directly. Yi Jiu turned away and stepped 2 paces back, pretending he did not know the young man. But he could not escape. Every step Yi Jiu took, Qin followed, eyes glued to the pot and chattering nonstop. Brother Yi, are you hungry? Brother Yi, Comrade Gu's cooking is amazing. Brother Yi, this smells incredible. Brother Yi, veins throbbed on Yi Jiu's forehead. He could bear it no longer. Stay back. Stop following me. Qin fell silent and stared at him mournfully. Brother Yi, I'm starving. Amused by Qin, Gu Jiu said, Comrade Qin, the dish is ready. Carry it over, and we can eat soon. Qin grabbed the basin of rabbit meat and ran off. Gu Jiu called after him. Careful not to spill it. I got it. Brother Yi, grab my stool for me. Gu Jiu laughed again, hearing a shout. Yi Jiu said, Don't pay him any mind, Comrade Gu. He's always been like this, obsessed with good food. It's fine. Gu Jiu scrubbed the wok as she answered. I think he's quite nice. Simple and straightforward, his whole mind focused on food. Quite nice. He clearly had never endured hardship. A twinge of jealousy stirred in Yi Jiu's heart. That foolish Qin had received praise without lifting much of a finger. When would Comrade Gu speak so kindly of him? Still, he knew he could only harbor this feeling silently. They had only spent more time together today. He had no right to feel jealous, and he dared not let Gu Jiu know his thoughts. She was still young. He must not act inappropriately. Yi Jiu filled the pot with water and covered it, leaving the stove fire to keep it warm. Gu Jiu rubbed her aching waist and called to him. Let's go eat, Comrade Yi. All right. Yi Jiu closed the door and walked behind her. The sight of her rubbing her waist lingered in his mind. He resolved to learn how to cook well. Comrade Gu was an excellent chef, and he ought to match her skill. If they were together one day, she should not always be the one cooking. Her body was delicate and needed care. Gu Jiu had no idea Yi Jiu was already planning their future meals. When she returned to her house, Yulina, Zhang Mei and Qin were seated at the table, waiting for her and Yi Jiu to start the meal. She glanced at the 4 dishes and 1 soup on the table and thought it was not quite enough. 5 people for 4 dishes felt a little sparse. She told Yi Jiu to take a seat, lifted the curtain and walked into the inner room. Moments later, she came out holding a can of yellow peaches. Qin's eyes lit up as he stared toward the curtain. The second Gu Jiu stepped out, he exclaimed. Good heavens, yellow peach canned fruit. Comrade Gu, you're far too generous. Even Yijiu thought the feast was already abundant. Canned fruit is hard to come by. You should keep it for yourself, Comrade Gu. You're right, Ayuyu. There's so much meat. Save the canned fruit for you, Yulina urged. Jiang Mei nodded vigorously. Indeed, Comrade Gu. With all this meat and rice, I never ate so well even before being sent down. You should. Before Jiang Mei finished speaking, there was a pop as the can was opened. Gu Zhuyu poured the peaches and syrup into a large bowl and set it on the table. What were you saying? The others shook their heads quickly, choosing not to repeat themselves. There was no point talking when she would not listen anyway. Gu Zhuyu sat down and picked up her chopsticks. Don't just sit there. Eat quickly and try my cooking. Qin Zhan moved fastest, picking up a chunk of rabbit meat and taking a bite. He nearly teared up. I've been living such a plain life all this time. Yi Jiu gritted his teeth. You would have starved without me. Don't complain about your life. Yulina and Jiang Mei focused on eating, ignoring the two men's bickering. It tasted wonderful. Gu Zhuyu encouraged them. This meal is to thank you all for your help today. Eat as much as you like, don't hold back. Thank you so much, Comrade Gu. If you need help with anything in the future, just say the word. Taking his cue from Yi Jiu, Qin Zhan spoke with his mouth full. Yes, absolutely. I'm great at working. Yulina said they were friends and there was no need for formal thanks. Jiang Mei added, we female, educated youth should support each other. If that false accusation had stuck to you today, someone else could face the same trouble tomorrow. I don't want that to happen. Gu Zhuyu agreed wholeheartedly. That was exactly how things worked. A small spark could grow into a wildfire, for better or worse. She had heard relations between villagers and educated youth in Unity Brigade were generally harmonious. Minor conflicts were normal. Zhang Chuanmei's sudden accusation today could not be ignored. If Gu Zhuyu let it slide, more malicious rumors would follow. If she dared slander Gu Zhuyu today, she would target others tomorrow. She had to extinguish this trouble at the source. That is true. Still, I appreciate you speaking up for me, and thank you for your help today, Comrade Yi. As for you, Comrade Qin, Gu Zhuyu paused. You're working to earn your meal, so eat more. All eyes turned toward Qin Zhan. Qin Zhan did not seem bothered at all, eating happily with oil glistening around his mouth. Exactly. I'll work hard, Comrade Gu. I won't eat for free. Yi Ziyu kept his expression neutral but rolled his eyes inwardly. Eat for free indeed. As they ate, the group chatted about their families, life in the countryside, past memories, and hopes for the future. People often said meals brought people together. Even without alcohol, this dinner worked the same way. By the time they finished eating, everyone knew each other better. They recognized one another as trustworthy people, and their bond grew closer. When everyone set down their chopsticks, nearly every plate was empty. Only leftover chili peppers remained in the rabbit meat bowl. Qin Zhan sat rubbing his stomach, repeatedly complaining he had overeaten. Yulina was equally stuffed. Jiang Mei and Yi Jiu cleared the table and washed the dishes. When Gu Zhuyu stood to help, Yi Jiu quickly stopped her. You've spent all this time cooking. Let us handle the washing. You rest. Qin Zhan also stood up and pushed the table against the wall. Brother Ye's right. Comrade Gu, you treated us to meat, so we can't let you handle such trivial work. By the way, you mentioned there was work for me. What is it? I could use some activity after eating. Oh, that. When Qin Zhan asked, Gu Zhiyu came straight out with it. I want to paper the walls in my bedroom. I went to the county town today and bought some white paper and old newspapers. I was hoping you could help me. Wallpapering? Why didn't that cross my mind? Yulina exclaimed. Jiang Mei scrubbed the bowls as she spoke. You're just scatterbrained. The first time you came to my room, you saw the newspapers on my walls and asked what they were for. How come you're so surprised to hear Comrade Gu wants to do the same? Yulina scratched her head. Did I? I've completely forgotten. Jiang Mei laughed at her poor memory. Are you going to paper your walls too? Next time we head to the commune, we can stop by the waste station to buy old newspapers. I'll help you sort it out. Sounds good. Remind me when we go, or I'll definitely forget again, Yulina said. Jiang Mei agreed and kept washing the dishes. Qin Zhan thumped his chest confidently. I'm an old hand at wallpapering. Leave it to me, and I'll make sure it turns out perfectly. Yi Jiu wiped his hands and cut in. I'll give you a hand too, Comrade Gu. More people will get the work done faster. And don't trust a word Qin Zhan says. Give him a decent meal, and he'll boast about anything. Hey, Brother Yi. Qin Zhan widened his eyes and glared at Yi Jiu. Gu Jiu covered her mouth, suppressing laughter. Watching the two bicker back and forth, she couldn't help but find their dynamic quite amusing. Yi Jiu suddenly felt a chill run down his spine, as if someone was fixating on him for no reason. Shaking off her wandering thoughts, Gu Jiu said, "I appreciate your offer, but it's too late to start today. Besides, the king is far too hot right now, which isn't ideal for making paste." She paused for a moment and continued. "How about tomorrow noon? I'll finish work early and boil the paste as soon as I get back. You can all come over for lunch, and we can start wallpapering after eating. Does that work for everyone?" Noon would be perfect. There would be plenty of daylight to work by. "We'll pass on lunch. We already enjoyed such a wonderful meal today. We can't impose on you again tomorrow. We'll eat at our own places before coming over." Yi Ziyu refused. Qin Zhan nodded in agreement. The meat today was more than enough. "Wallpapering isn't strenuous work, so there's no need for you to prepare food for us. Yulina and Zhang Mei also said they would come to help after having their own lunch the next day." Hearing them, Gu Jiu nodded to herself. 5 people. I'll need to get plenty of things ready for tomorrow noon. Everyone present looked at each other, helpless. Comrade Gu only heard what she wanted to hear. It wasn't that Gu Jiu was overly generous. She simply had no shortage of supplies. More importantly, she thought these people were decent and worth befriending. On top of that, sharing meals with others was truly enjoyable. She had eaten a large bowl of rice and plenty of meat today. Even she herself was rather full. Clapping her hands, Gu Jiu saw them out. "Don't forget to come over for lunch tomorrow to help with the wallpapering. It's getting late. You should head back and rest." Yi Ziyu and the others stood outside Gu Jiu's doorway and exchanged glances. Well, they would bring something along tomorrow noon. Comrade Gu mostly ate fine grains, and they couldn't let her bear all the expense. The group silently reached the same decision. Gu Jiu paid no mind to their thoughts. She drew the curtains, washed up, and climbed onto the king. She had planned to turn in early after walking such a long way, but she quickly climbed back out of bed. Sure enough, she had stoked the fire too high. Even with 2 layers of bedding, the king was unbearably warm. Left with no choice, Gu Jiu pushed back her quilt to let the heat disperse. She moved to her desk, and by the light of an oil lamp, began drafting her next article. She had only written 2 characters when a thought struck her. Yi Jiu's kang had also been heated heavily today. Gu Jiu shook her head. He had shared the meal after all. If the kang was hot, he would manage. If it grew too uncomfortable, he could go to Qin Zhan's room. The single rooms were laid out identically, and the kang could fit 2 people. They got along well, so staying the night together wouldn't be an issue. The image of them sharing the kang popped into her head, and her imagination began running wild. She pictured the 2 young men chatting earnestly, growing closer as they spoke. "Stop it." Gu Jiu snapped herself out of her thoughts. This was 1970. She was writing articles to submit to newspapers, not letting her imagination run wild like this. She slapped her forehead to clear her mind. Still, Yi Jiu and Qin Zhan really made a great pair. No, stop that. They were just good friends. Pushing all distracting thoughts aside, Gu Jiu focused on outlining her article. Meanwhile, in the house opposite, Yi Jiu and Qin Zhan both shuddered for no reason. Qin Zhan rubbed his nose. "Brother Yi, is there a draft in this room? Why did it suddenly turn cold?" Yi Jiu did not lift his gaze. "Hold steady. Don't move." They were assembling a radio, built from small spare parts Yi Jiu had found at the waste station. Qin Zhan froze, holding the component firmly. Once Yi Jiu tightened the screw, he spoke again. "I'm serious, Brother Yi. I felt a cold sensation on my back just now. Could someone be plotting against me? I haven't wronged anyone as far as I know." Yi Jiu did not respond, concentrating on his work. The radio was nearly finished. Qin Zhan soon dropped the subject. He smacked his lips and spoke again. "Brother Yi, Comrade Gu's cooking is amazing. Honestly, I think you and her would make a fine couple. If you 2 got together, I'd get to enjoy such delicious meals all the time." Yi Jiu stopped working and shot Qin Zhan a sharp look. "Explain what you mean. How would you benefit if Comrade Gu and I became a couple? Don't get any inappropriate ideas about her." Qin Zhan held up both hands, looking innocent. "I wouldn't dare harbor any wrong thoughts toward her. I just meant that if you 2 were together, I could keep tasting her great cooking. I swear I have no ulterior motives where she's concerned." He mumbled quietly afterward. "Unlike you, I wouldn't set my sights on a young lady." Yi Jiu studied Qin Zhan's foolish expression and realized he had worried over nothing. A simple meal could easily win this boy over. Gu Jiu would never take a fancy to him. Watch your words when you're out. A young woman's reputation matters greatly. Just today, someone spread false rumors to slander Comrade Gu. Don't carelessly say something that could cause trouble for her. Seeing Qin Zhan seemed unconcerned, Yu Jiu's expression turned stern. I hold Comrade Gu in high regard. That is my own business. I know you're easygoing and don't dwell on things, but mark my words. You must not talk about this anywhere, whether in public or in front of Comrade Gu. If you do, don't blame me for falling out with you. Faced with Yu Jiu's serious tone, Qin Zhan dropped his playful demeanor. Don't worry, Brother Yi. I know what's appropriate. I won't gossip about this to anyone. Yu Jiu resumed his work and fitted the last component into place. Qin Zhan sat beside him, gazing at Yu Jiu's focused face. Still, Brother Yi, have you really thought this through? Comrade Gu is so young. If Uncle Yu finds out, he'll break his whip beating you. Do you really want to risk that? Once the radio was assembled, Yu Jiu began adjusting it as he replied. It will only be a little more than a year. She's the only young woman I've taken a liking to in all these years. Why let someone else win her over? I'll take this chance to let her get to know me and hope she grows fond of me. Once she turns 18, we can formally court each other. Even if my father finds out, I won't back down. After confirming the radio worked properly, Yu Jiu stored it in a wooden box. Mother told me that when she was 15, father already planned to marry her. They built a life together in the end. He has no grounds to punish me. Is this some kind of family tradition? Qin Zhan muttered. But Brother Yi, think carefully. What if Comrade Gu sees your true nature and doesn't take a liking to you? You look impressive on the surface, but you've got plenty of tricks up your sleeve. Will she really appreciate that side of you? When Yu Jiu stood up and rolled up his sleeves, Qin Zhan jumped to his feet and hurried for the door. Brother Yi, it's getting late. You don't need my help anymore. I'm heading back to sleep. Don't bother seeing me out. Before Yu Jiu could say a word, Qin Zhan fled outside and even closed the door behind him. Lucky he ran fast. Yu Jiu frowned and picked up a mirror resting on the box. He stared at his reflection, confused. He cut quite a presentable figure. Everyone who met him usually praised his appearance. Why did Qin Zhan and Huang Jiangwo always describe him in such unflattering terms? They had even driven the illiterate Qin Zhan to learn fancy phrases. Thinking about Qin Zhan's comment that he looked good outwardly but lacked merit within, Yu Jiu's face darkened. That fool Qin Zhan must just be jealous of his intelligence. Yu Jiu considered himself gentle, helpful, and upstanding. It was clearly the other two who lacked discernment. If Qin Zhan could hear his thoughts, he would definitely call him shameless. Gentle? He had once made a young girl cry with his sharp words. Helpful? Once I barely escaped a beating from my father, you dragged me back to take more punishment. Heaven bear witness to the truth. The next morning, Gu Jiu climbed out of the kang with an aching back and sore limbs. After breakfast, she stretched her body and hopped around a little to ease the discomfort. She had exhausted herself yesterday. As she felt the aches in her muscles, she knew she had a long road ahead. System sign in. Ding. Sign in successful. Items have been stored in system space. Gu Jiu glanced casually into the space. More books again, nothing out of the ordinary. She was about to close the interface when she paused. Wait. The book she had caught a glimpse of did not look like standard study material. She quickly took out the newly acquired books and laid them on her desk. Wow, the system had really surprised her. She scanned the titles. Bajuan Qigong, Tai Chi, 5 Animal Frolics, Herbal Diet Principles by Meng Shan of the Tang Dynasty, Principles of Diet and Cuisine by Hu Sihui of the Yuan Dynasty. Random Notes on Diet and Health by Wang Menjing, Guide to Food Identification, Sun Simiao's Dietary Treatises from Essential Prescriptions worth 1,000 gold, Health Recipes from Records of Longevity. Stacks of books on health preservation, even a barefoot doctor's handbook. Gu Jiu's eyes lit up. Only moments ago, she had been lamenting that she could not even complete a full set of broadcast exercises. Now she was elated. She resolved to practice Tai Chi whenever she had spare time. The martial art could strengthen her body and defend herself, something she had long wanted to learn. In her past life, she knew how to fight from years of practical experience and later learned Taekwondo, but she had never had the chance to properly learn Tai Chi. She had only watched elderly people practice it in parks. She spotted Yi Jingjing among the pile and tilted her head. Was this not a famed Shaolin skill? Could it be practiced without becoming a monk, and was it also for health maintenance? She decided to stop reading for now. It was time to head out to work, or she would be late. Still worn out from yesterday, and affected by the incident the previous morning, Gu Jiu went to Zhao Jianlin and said she was unwell. She handed over 2 back baskets of pigweed, asked to be credited 1 work point, and headed home early. Zhao Jianlin stared at her retreating figure, lost for words. She had collected pigweed nearly as quickly as usual. Apart from her saying she felt unwell, she showed no obvious signs of discomfort. She was barely even pretending. Had Comrade Gu decided to slack off this quickly? Not long ago, she had strived hard for 2 work points. Gu Jiu paid no attention to what Zhao Jianlin thought. Her mind was fixed on planning lunch. Truth be told, she would rather not work at all. Her earlier resolve to earn 2 work points each day had been youthful naivety. She had worked less than a week in the fields and was already struggling. Her tender shoulders were chafed raw, and she had forced herself to keep going. The incident with Zhang Chunmei the day before had opened her eyes. Principles? What principles? She had none. She had pushed herself so hard, yet people still accused her of slacking. She decided to take it easy. The difference between 1 and 2 work points was negligible. She already had a steady income of 10 yuan a day from other means, so work points mattered little. What was more, if her submitted articles were accepted, she would earn even more. There was no need to push herself to the limit. Carrying heavy loads was exhausting work. She turned her thoughts back to lunch. When she got home, Gu Jiu took out flour and boiled a large pot of paste, pouring it into a big basin to cool. Then she rummaged through her system space. Spotting dried noodles, she suddenly craved soybean paste noodles. They were not hand-pulled, but they would suffice. She took out a chunk of pork belly to fry savory meat sauce, sliced cucumber and carrot, and chopped some green onions. Simple yet delicious, perfect. Her only complaint was the sauce. It was not the soybean paste sold in modern times. Though she had been born in northeast China, she had never developed a taste for local northeastern soybean paste. It was all the system had provided, so she would make do. Still, it smelled wonderful. She silently praised her own cooking skills. Seeing that it was nearly 11 o'clock, she lit the stove to boil water for noodles. She left the pot unwashed after taking out the sauce and added water directly. She dropped the noodles into boiling water, adding cold water 3 times as they cooked. Once done, she rinsed them in cold water. By the time she finished, she was slightly breathless. Instead of pouring the noodle water directly onto the vegetable plot, she collected it in a wooden barrel to use for watering later. There was quite a lot of water. She planned to ask Yelena if she needed some. She could not carry the barrel alone, but the 2 of them might manage it. Everything was ready by noon, when workers finished their shifts. Gu Jiu waited another 10 minutes. The educated youths living in the courtyard began returning home one after another. She saw Yelena, Yi Jiu, and Qin Zhan come back, but there was no sign of Zhang Mei. She called out to Yelena as the girl hurried toward her house. "Where's Zhang Mei? We agreed she'd come for lunch." She said she'd head home briefly and be right over. Yelena rushed to unlock her door. "I'll talk later, Ayu. I'm in a hurry." Gu Jiu watched her dash inside. She certainly looked pressed for time. Other educated youths in the courtyard spotted Gu Jiu standing there and greeted her. Ming Tian walked over curiously. "Comrade Gu, is it true that the village party secretary's daughter-in-law had to carry manure because of you?" Her brother Ming Yuan quickly pulled her back. "Be quiet." He turned to Gu Jiu. "I'm sorry, Comrade Gu. My sister talks nonsense. Please don't take it to heart." He had heard Gu Jiu was feeling unwell. He did not want his sister's careless words to remind her of yesterday's conflict and upset her. He had no wish to end up hauling manure himself. Ming Tian seemed to realize this as well and hid timidly behind her brother. "It's all right. What Comrade Ming said is true, there's no need to apologize. But Zhang Chunmei received the punishment because she slandered me first. It is not entirely because of me, her own behavior is to blame." Gu Jiu shook her head. The siblings' thoughts were written all over their faces. "No one will be ordered to carry manure simply because of me. You don't need to worry." She wondered if their family had sent them to the countryside together because they were both rather naive, so they could watch out for each other and avoid being taken advantage of. Ming Yuan smiled awkwardly. "That's not what I meant, Comrade Gu." Ming Tian peeked out from behind him with a wide grin. "Right, we didn't mean anything like that." Gu Jiu noticed Yi Jiu and Qin Zhan walking toward her, carrying things in their hands. She turned to the brother and sister. "Field work is tiring. You should head home for lunch." Ming Yuan agreed and dragged Ming Tian away. After walking a few steps, Ming Tian looked back and called to Gu Jiu. Comrade Gu, can I come visit you sometime?